Never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot this bitch ass with the quickness. Now he bleeding, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 Limp Bizkit. All my niggas wildin', they done labeled us a misfit. Wake up every morning, 2 or 3, 5 in the tidbit. Oh shit, did nobody come to see you old? It's some focus. Shoot 100 shots, no reloading. Master of the game, you would think I'm into coding. Memphis niggas spit this pimpin', mackin' like I'm golden. Ho, with my money, you gon' turn me to the old me. Say hi, first class flight, I'm in the nosebleed. Copy, cooking, whipping, shipping, till you count the proceeds. OG, I've been moving pack niggas since 03. Low key, niggas hating, but they don't want no beef. State gang, true sippers, bitch, I bet we don't eat. Get jammed, get a lawyer, make it bunny, don't speak. Pour up, oh, I need some more, nigga had a long week. Shout out to my plug, he showed me love, he out in Long Beach, I'm too geek. Walking by myself, but left with 2 freaks. Ooh, we, nothing in they mouth and on they booty. Austin Power swag, yeah, baby, this is groovy. You can call me Money Boy, or you can call me Nudie. Hood niggas, churches, chicken, let me get a 2-piece. Top down, 2-seater, let me feel the 2 breathe. Gotta hold it steady, chopper, kick it back like Bruce Lee. Lately I've been in the zone, I guess I'm in my 2-3. Don't call my phone for nothing less than a QP. Feeling like the Migos, cause my bitch is bad and bougie. All my haters love me, all these bitches just some groupies. Came a long way, I like to introduce the new me. Standing on business like I'm king or like I'm Drewski. Call me Run Island cause I like my love for choosy. When we link it's a movie, she bustin' like a Uzi. I love the way she do me, I beat it up like Uzi. She dancing just like Suki. Call me Run Island cause I love my love for choosy. When we link it's a movie, she bustin' like a Uzi. I love the way she do me, I beat it up like Uzi. She dancing just like Suki. I never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Niggas talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Name pleading, sorry, baby, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 Limp Bizkit. Never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Name pleading, sorry, baby, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 Limp Bizkit.
MoneyBoy, trade. MoneyBoy, trade.
Private jets, flights overseas, dime pieces coming by the 3. Piano witch playing with the keys, waterfront chilling in Belize, greenbacks, racks, blue cheese, murder. Came up in the street, good dope, no price cheap. Pop pills, too high geek. Private jets, flights overseas, dime pieces coming by the 3. Piano witch playing with the keys, waterfront chilling in Belize, greenbacks, racks, blue cheese. Murder 8 came up in the street, good dope, no price cheap. Pop pills, too high geek.
Counting hundreds with my amigos, blue water, frozen Sub-Zero. Hit a lick, flip it twice, break bread with my people. Who knockin', look out the people. Clutching my Desert Eagle, cock, aim, squeeze, trigger, empty clip, and reload. Pints, pills, 2 kilos. Bitches coming in trio. Shaking all ass, beat the pot like Migos. Last second shot and 1. Free throws. No Master P, but I'm looking for the free codes. Pints, pills, 2 kilos. Bitches coming in trio. Shaking all ass, beat the pot like Migos. Last second shot and 1. Free throws. No Master P, but I'm looking for the free codes.
Private jets, flights overseas, dime pieces coming by the 3. Piano witch playing with the keys, waterfront chilling in Belize, greenbacks, racks, blue cheese. Murder 8 came up in the street, good dope, no price cheap. Pop pills, too high geek. Private jets, flights overseas, dime pieces coming by the 3. Piano witch playing with the keys, waterfront chilling in Belize, greenbacks, racks, blue cheese. Murder 8 came up in the street, good dope, no price cheap. Pop pills, too high geek.
Too high geek. Top floor, nosebleed seats, 4A, 4AB. Push star, got no key. MoneyBoy, Lou got said, take a picture, paparazzi. Quaaludes, Bill Cosby, rape a hoe, no, not me. Hashtag MB3, primetime NBC. On lane, I do me. Dial on, I spit heat.
Private jets, flights overseas, dime pieces coming by the 3. Piano witch playing with the keys, waterfront chilling in Belize, greenbacks, racks, blue cheese. Murder 8 came up in the street. Good dope, no price cheap. Pop pills, too high geek. Private jets, flights overseas. Dime pieces coming by the threes. Piano wrist playing with the keys. Waterfront chilling in Belize. Greenbacks, rack, blue cheese. Murder 8 came up in the street. Good dope, no price cheap. Pop pills, too high geek.
State gang, the mob, we in too deep. MoneyBoy Trey, Looney Tune melodies. Let's go. I can take a bitch if I want. Take her down, send her back in the morning. Purple kush, purple drink like Bonnie. Black op shit, got gun like the Hummer. Bulletproof vest, case a nigga wanna harm me. No conversation, he ain't talking about the money. I die about mine, never take nothing from me. I die about mine, never take nothing from me. I can take a bitch if I want her. Take her down, send her back in the morning. Purple kush, purple drink like Bonnie. Black op shit, got gun like the Hummer. Bulletproof vest, case a nigga wanna harm me. No conversation, he ain't talking about money. I die about mine, never take nothing from me. I die about mine, never take nothing from me. Hey, little nigga, I was trapping at the Carter. Single parent home, being willing, I'm a father. Money go get it, I ain't never been a quitter. Had to be the breadwinner for my sons and my daughter. Nigga rich, full blue eyes, 20 pointer. I can take a bitch if I want it. Pick it down from the back in the morning. Purple kush, purple drink like Bonnie. Black op shit, got gun like Army. Bulletproof vest, cause nigga wanna harm me. No conversation, he ain't talking about money. I die about mine, never take nothing from me. State to state, we gon' wait, we're running. Wholesale, get both by the 100. No consignment, no deal, no front. Camera in Berlin and stun. Bitch, stop capping, he ain't talking about nothing. Jacking out the tub on the time, hit your bust. Look with the pussy, but you never gotta touch it. Came down the middle, but you had to make a bust it. How you getting money, but a flat it on your budget? All the player talk, so you know you need to cut it. Sir, you know you need to cut this shit. All the player talk, so you know you need to cut it. Throwing tackles, start crying and puff. You a bitch. Nigga dick, so a bitch cannot suck. You a bitch. You need to be saying you disgusting. You a bitch. Bitch, you a lame, you a dust. You a bitch. Why you stay sweaty? You must. You a bitch. You ain't from the street, you a pussy. Oh, need a dick ass nigga. I can take a bitch if I want it. Take her down, send her back in the morning. Purple kush, purple drink like Bonnie. Black op shit, got gun like the Hummer. Bulletproof vest, case a nigga wanna harm me. No conversation, he ain't talking about the money. I die about mine, never take nothing from me. I die about mine, never take nothing from me. I can take a bitch if I want it. Take her down, send her back in the morning. Purple kush, purple drink like Bonnie. Black op shit, got gun like the Hummer. Bulletproof vest, case a nigga wanna harm me. No conversation, he ain't talking about money. I die about mine, never take nothing from me. I die about mine, never take nothing from me.
Hey, no, that's not cool though. That's not cool. You wanna take me a ride, man? Split my motherfucking head, cause I can't believe a motherfucker I really cared about, I really loved you at one point, G. Like low key. Like, come on now. Like low key, G. You think it was cool for your friend to get up there and expose everything you told him about me? That wasn't cool. You know that wasn't cool for real. That wasn't what's up. That wasn't what's up. That shit triggered the fuck out of me because that was wacky. You know it was wacky. Fuck my kid. You know that shit was wacky. Let me take me a drive, G. This shit getting out of hand, G. This shit getting out of hand to fight somebody else fight. Especially about people we talked about their commentary and their style of how they do people. You laying me out. You feed me to the wolves for what? You feed me to the wolves for what? What you feeding me to the wolves for, Shib? For what? For what?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good damn morning. Some news hit my desk before I went live. Some breaking news that hadn't been out here on the YouTube streets before. Now, what I'm going to give you out of it, I haven't seen my commune post. Don't worry about it. I'm finna read what it says, and I'm finna go through the documents that I uploaded, which come from the real thing. Now, when I get a chance, we is going to do an entire live reading through them goddamn documents. She's done it. It's cool. So we going to read her documents live. But just to give you a snippet of what's going on in the court case, I found detail. Shout out to my plug too. Shout out to my source. My plug source told me not to share this one, but he or she knows some shit. I can't just some shit. I'd be like, I ain't gonna do nothing. But this one, nope. I had to. So it says, I found the court documents that give detailed information about Helmerhead CPS case from 2013. This is just some of what I've read. In 2012, the youngest adopted daughter said the oldest adopted daughter, who would have been 12 or 13 at the time, was SA-ing her in Helmet Head house. So Helmet Head, she done fucked her real daughter up, and she done took in a damn predator foster child. So the older foster child, let's read that again. In 2012, the youngest adopted daughter said the oldest adopted daughter, who would have been 12 or 13 at the time, was SA-ing her in Helmet Head house. The oldest adopted daughter, and I think that's the one with the kids, also SA'd other foster children prior, all minors that were in Helmet Head house, predator. The oldest adopted daughter was arrested and charged, then placed in the Juvenile Justice Center. Now I'm thinking this baby UP grandma. I don't know which one is the oldest, the Tierra or Alasia or whatever the fuck her name is. I don't know which one the oldest, but it's them two that's being talked about in this here case. Let's see, she SA'd other foster children prior, all minors that were in Helmet Head house. They had to be minors though, because they're foster children. The oldest adopted daughter was arrested and charged and placed in the Juvenile Justice Center in 2013. In 2013, a therapist reported Helmet Head to CPS. A therapist, a onlooker, a right to report somebody that was just there doing their job and said something don't sit right with me. The youngest daughter said that she was afraid of Helmet Head, and she said that Helmet Head threatened to kill not only her, but herself. So Helmet Head was going to take everybody out. CPS took photos of empty pill capsules in Helmet Head house. It's documented that Helmet Head was diagnosed with mental health conditions. Helmet Head pled no contest to CPS charges. And I said, I'll send you the documents in a few days. Here are a few screenshots below. So that's, yeah. So in a few days, we're going to read that entire case for our viewing and listening pleasure. But let's hold on. I don't know if I got them in order or not. What this one say? What the one on the screen say? Okay, what you're seeing on the screen says, hold on, I'm trying to read it from my device. Peters asked plaintiff Griffin why her daughter was afraid of her. Plaintiff assured her, which is Griffin, that she did not know and she was not sure if her daughter said that. Plaintiff also told Peters she asked CPS what was the reason for her daughter's fear. No answer was given. So Helmet Head asked CPS, what's the reason for my daughter's fear? And Peters tells plaintiff Griffin that the CPS report says you threatened to kill your daughter and yourself. Ooh, there's one picture. Hold on, let me. I gotta get them in order if I can find them. Okay, it says your house. Now something at your house. Now your daughter cannot come home. Your daughter has just disclosed she is afraid to come home. You have refused to follow the orders of your therapist. And she done refused to follow the orders of the damn therapist. Damn, Helmet Head. We all have suspected that you was crazy as a motherfucker, but this sheds new light into it. 2 weeks passed since the removal of plaintiff Griffin's daughter, when she received a letter requiring she attend a team decision-making meeting before her pretrial hearing. 2 weeks. She didn't give a fuck about the foster grandbaby. It had been weeks since she'd seen or heard from her daughter. She was praying her daughter would be at the meeting. She was not. He was praying back then, 2012. Okay, then. What this one say? What, I gotta find it in my phone. Okay. I don't know why it says defend the Roch. I guess it's supposed to be defendant Roch informed plaintiff Griffin a call was placed to CPS concerning the safety and well-being of her daughter. Now, is all of this from her leaving the kids at the school? Is this a separate case from her leaving the kids at the goddamn school? I wonder. I'm gonna find out when I get the full documents, though. Plaintiff Griffin assured defendant Rots that her daughter was safe and was with her grandmama. Then put grandma in the shit. Then put Miss Ida in the shit. Plaintiff Griffin asked defendant Roch who would call CPS on me, at which time she was told that information could not be provided. Plaintiff Griffin later found out that her care house therapist called CPS with concerns. Her care house therapist. Now, I don't know what the fuck a care house therapist is. I'm finna Google it, but I did say that she wasn't following the orders of the therapist. Care house therapist. Let's see what the fuck that is. Oh, let's see. Well, the first thing that pops up is Ruler Mental Health covered by insurance. Care house therapists are licensed mental health professionals who specialize in, it's too late. You sent it to me and I'm already reading it. Care house therapists are licensed mental health professionals who specialize in treating children and families affected by abuse. They provide therapy and support at no cost. So yes, that's the breaking news story concerning our very own YouTuber, Helmet Head, Miss Yvette over there. She got a house of horrors going on. Vito mentally fucked up. She mentally fucked up. Oh, it was another one. Hell no, it was one of y'all. One I didn't read one to y'all. Yeah, I seen it, but I know I didn't read it because it would have stuck out to me. It says something about she is protected. Something about her. I don't know. Is this it? Hold on. Oh, there it is. This is the most important one, y'all. This is the most important one because this gives insight into who the fuck we've been dealing with all this time. Plaintiff Griffin is an African American woman. She black, even though she put white on some documents. She'll say she white, but she's black. With diagnosed. So a mental health professional has diagnosed this hoe as being crazy. Has been diagnosed with, let me start over. Plaintiff Griffin is an African American woman with diagnosed and documented mental health conditions, all recognized by the Americans with Disabilities Act. This makes plaintiff a member of two protected classes relevant to this section. And that's why this bitch thinks she could do all the shit that she do on the internet and not have any repercussions because she can always go back and say, I'm crazy. Ma'am, that don't stop folk from whooping your ass. Crazy folks get fucked up every day. But that explains why she does this shit, because she has been diagnosed with mental health issues. The bitch get a check. There's no way you've been diagnosed and you're recognized by ADA and you ain't getting no check. All right, y'all. Now, let's get into some real news. These airplane crashes just keep happening. I don't know what the hell going on. This one, as y'all see, one person did, so that's not bad. There were some fairly small planes. I don't know how bad the collision was that one person died, but let's see what they're going to tell us and show us.
New information.
Make sure y'all like the community while posting and share it out. If you've been affected by Helmet Head, like it and share it out so people can know what we're dealing with.
As it is a now deadly plane crash and accident in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're learning more information about this. These are some images coming in to our newsroom here on Live Now from Fox as a plane veered off the runway after landing at the Scottsdale airport on Monday afternoon, just about 2:40 in the afternoon. Scottsdale fire officials say 5 people were involved in the crash. One identified person was killed. 2 were taken to a trauma center. Another person person in stable condition will be transported, still trapped inside the plane. The runway now closed for the indefinite future. Let's take you out to some of these updates from officials there in Arizona.
As we are working this live, very active scene right now, our thoughts and prayers are going out to everybody in the aviation community that this affects. Today, at approximately 14:39, we had a mid-size business jet, upon arrival, collide with another mid-size business jet that was parked on private property. Our runway is currently closed and will remain closed for the foreseeable future. We'll have more information on that as it is available. For right now, I'm going to turn it over to our PIO Folio so that he can provide additional information about the emergency response. We do have PD, fire, and the FAA all currently on scene assessing the situation.
First and foremost, on behalf of the city of Scottsdale and the Scottsdale Fire Department, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody involved in this incident. My name is Captain Dave Folio. I'm a public information officer with the city of Scottsdale Fire Department. What I can tell you is we're at 14960 North 78th Way, Scottsdale Air Park. At 14:39, we received an alert 3 at our aircraft station that's located here on the airport. At 14:40, Foam 609 arrived on scene and basically gave the same report that you just heard, had the small jet into another jet off the runway. We have we requested additional alarms. When the alert 3 went out, that basically gives us a first alarm assignment to the scene. We requested additional hazmat units just to do metering in the surrounding buildings attached to the area of that location. They went in and got an all clear of the structures and metered the structures with 0 readings. I can tell you that we have 5 souls, 1 DOA, 2 immediates that have been transported to local trauma centers, 1 delayed stable to a local hospital. And this is a still active scene. We're still working on extricating 1 soul out of one of the airplanes. I'm not going to answer any questions while this is an active scene that's going to be under investigation. We're going to look forward to giving you an update on once the scene is not active and probably around 6 o'clock.
Ma'am, it's breaking news. I'm guessing you're a spiritual woman. You a believer. Pray. Do what our Christians do. Pray before you get on that motherfucker.
So we'll give you more details then, but that's all we have right now, and we're not going to answer any questions. So once again, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody involved.
Gabe, I don't choose the stories if they're doom or gloom. I just re-report them. That's all I do is I just re-report them. That's all. Don't kill the messenger, people. Sheesh.
This on behalf of the city of Scottsdale, the fire department, the police department, Glendale, and everybody else that's out here working this. We've got our automatic aid partners out here currently working this scene, and we're doing everything we can to extricate and save the 1 soul that's still on board. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you're just listening in there to officials on this breaking news event at the Scottsdale, a smaller airport in a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona. And to give you some update on what we just heard, there were 5 people involved in this crash, 1 person tragically losing their life, and also 1 person still remaining on board one of these airplanes. We do want to put up a live picture right now of this. There was a plane that landed and of course veered off the runway into another mid-size business jet. So we're hopeful.
Okay, it veered off the runway because I was about to say, what the fuck is traffic tower control doing? I feel like they are to be blamed for all of this shit. Air traffic control. But this one, I guess he landed and lost control.
We hear an update from officials in just about an hour on this. The runway closed at this point, but also some context as yesterday wrapped up the Waste Management Phoenix Open, which is just very adjacent to this
the Gulf.
small regional airport there in Scottsdale, Arizona. So lots of different people coming and going from this, a very busy part of town this weekend. All right, we're following this here on Live Now from Fox very closely. We'll bring you an update as soon as it happens in the coming hours.
Him. They go after a lot of people. These are bad people, though.
Oh shit! I hit the wrong. Did I hit the wrong
Information
button?
as it is.
Hell, my head supporters. I just want to say to y'all, y'all are supporting a woman who has been diagnosed
a lot of people
and documented mental health issues. That's who y'all follow and listen to every goddamn day. A woman who is on paper considered to be in a protected class because she crazy. That's who y'all listen to every day. I don't know what the hell been going on with Trump lately. He been signing a lot of shit. He's been taken to court. A lot of the shit he's been signing has been getting blocked. There was a judge the other day saying that this nigga is ignoring his orders. They ignoring the freezing fund or whatever, not the spending or whatever the fuck. So it's just a whole bunch. So he did something yesterday. He signed something yesterday. It was live. I don't know what it was. So we finna listen and see what the fuck he signed, and let's get angry together or not care. Makes me no difference whether we get angry or we don't care. It don't matter.
These are bad people, the other side. So I think he's just a very fine person. And this shouldn't have happened, and it shouldn't have happened to him. And let him have a normal life and let him go out and do what he has to do. So I'm signing this as a full pardon. Rod Blagojevich.
Mr. President, are you considering him for ambassador to Serbia?
Okay, Rod, that's the guy from that's the ex-governor of Illinois. Now, he went to jail for trying to sell Barack Obama's seat when Barack won the presidency. He tried to sell his seat. I'm guessing that's against the rules. He went to jail. This nigga has the nerve to say he was jailed for playing politics. So playing politics is selling seats? I thought you had to be elected to those seats, sir. But whatever. I ain't mad about the pardon. He had like I think he had a 12 or 13 year sentence. He served like 4, and then Trump got him out the first time, and now he's just giving him a full pardon so that he could give him a job in government. One can say Trump fucks with his friends. We should all be so lucky. Folks fuck with him, and he fuck with them back. He repays their loyalty. It may come up. And see Boosie out here trying to get President Trump to fuck with him. Like, help your boy out. I'll come perform. I'll do whatever. I see he's been inviting random journalists to come out to the White House for Black History Month. He invited Marcellus Wiley, ex-football player. He got a fairly good size YouTube channel, and he be on some shit called Brink TV or whatever it's called. Fairly sized channel, but it's weird him being invited, but I guess he's a celebrity in his own thing. And it goes to show that he's been genuine in trying to get social media influencers and shit in there. He's extending invitations out. He's actually invited them to be part of the press pool. You got to apply, but they're letting regular Joes come in, especially ones with platforms. He wants to reach the internet people.
No, but I would. I mean, he's not cleaner than anybody in this room. You got a pardon. He's cleaner than anybody in the room. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next, in 2018, you imposed ad valorem duties tariffs on imports of steel at a 25% rate. Since that time, a large number of exclusions and exceptions to that tariff rule have been implemented. Because of the damage to the United States steel industry that those exceptions and exclusions have imposed, we're now, this order would reimpose that 25% ad valorem tariff rate on imports of steel, and it's presented for your signature now.
Okay. Do you understand what that means?
Good morning,
It's a big
Matt.
deal. It's a big deal. This is the beginning of making America rich again. Mr. Secretary, do you have anything to say? As you know, Howard is Secretary of Commerce, doing a fantastic job. And what do you have to say about it?
So when you imposed the tariffs the first time, you added 120,000 jobs. And since that time, it's been picked away and nicked away and excluded away, and we've lost 107,000 jobs. And remember, these aren't just general jobs. These are steel workers in America, and now you're going to bring them back. You're going to bring those 120,000 jobs back to America. You are the president who's standing up for the American steel worker, and I am just tremendously impressed and delighted to stand next to you.
So let me just make a statement. And essentially, this is another way of saying we're doing a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. So the failed American trade policies have led our once incredible United States steel and aluminum industries, once incredible, not now, but they're not bad. I saved them because of my first term, totally saved them. If I didn't do what I did, I put massive tariffs, not the highest level, but pretty massive tariffs. We took in a lot of money and we took in a lot of jobs, but we were being pummeled by both friend and foe alike. Our nation requires steel and aluminum to be made in America, not in foreign lands. We need to create, in order to protect our country's future, a resurgence of U.S. manufacturing and production, the likes of which has not been seen for many decades. It's time for our great industries to come back to America. I want them back to America. This is the first of many, and you know what I mean by that. We're going to be doing others on other subjects, topics. Protecting our steel and aluminum industries is a must, and today I'm simplifying our tariffs on steel and aluminum so that everyone can understand exactly what it means. It's 25% without exceptions or exemptions, and that's all countries, no matter where it comes from, all countries. If made in the United States, however, United States of America, there is no tariff, zero. So if it's made in the United States, there is no tariff. All you have to do is make it in the United States. We don't need it from another country. As an example, Canada, if we make it in the United States, we don't need it to be made in Canada. We'll have the jobs. That's why Canada should be our 51st state. We'll bring back industries and we'll bring back our jobs and we'll make America industry great again. So essentially, we're putting on a 25% tariff without exception on all aluminum and all steel. And it's going to mean a lot of businesses are going to be opening in the United States. Now, we're going to be meeting over the next 4-week period, maybe on a weekly basis, and maybe we'll do a couple of them at different times and maybe together. But we'll be talking about other subjects like cars. We'll be talking about drugs and pharmaceuticals. We'll be discussing chips.
Why didn't anybody tell Trump that Puerto Rico is considered the 51st state?
And we're going to be doing some other things in addition to that, all which will bring in a lot of jobs into our country. Cars is going to be a very big one and a very important one. And America is going to be stronger than it ever was before. Okay. So are you finished with everything, I think?
We have aluminum still to sign.
Okay, let's go.
So with respect to aluminum, similarly to steel, since 2018, a large number of exceptions and exemptions have been added into the law. This eliminates all of those and also increases the ad valorem tariff rate from 10 to 25%.
Mostly the last part is the most important, right? Would you say?
Totally.
So basically, this is aluminum, the same thing, no exceptions, no nothing. And it's going to bring our aluminum business back and may go higher. I mean, frankly, it may go higher. And we're going to also be talking about receptive. We're going to be talking about things over the next 3 weeks that I think will be amazing for our country, amazing for our jobs, and will bring us to a new level of prosperity. And I think, frankly, our allies and our enemies all over the world expected this. They really expected it for years. They really expected it sometime during the Biden administration, but they didn't do anything. As you know, I put tariffs on China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars with those tariffs, and Biden wasn't able to get them out. He tried to, but it was too much money. He couldn't do it. And we're going to be doing a very concise and, very, it's going to be good. And I don't think if done properly, and we're going to try and do that, we don't want it to hurt other countries, but they've been taking advantage of us for years and years and years.
Not Miss Lynn, he ain't released no lawlessness. The people that were in jail that he let out, they were in jail. So they have served some type of time for the crimes that they committed. They was in there serving their time. When they got out, They would have gotten out eventually anyway. None of them people were serving life sentences. And he making ICE clean up. They get niggas from taco trucks and everything. They done raided a taco truck here in Memphis and left with about 5 immigrants. But yeah, he's sending the lawless back home. That's what he doing.
Almost everyone, I would say, almost without exception. Definitely. They've charged us and we haven't charged them. And it's time to be reciprocal. So you'll be hearing that word a lot, reciprocal. If they charge us, we charge them. If they're at 25, we're at 25. If they're at 10, we're at 10. And if they're much higher than 25, that's where we are too. So that's having to do with everything. That's not just steel and aluminum, but we'll be discussing that over the next couple of weeks. But we will be looking at chips, and we will be looking at cars, and we're going to be looking at pharmaceuticals, and there'll be a couple of other things also in addition.
Yeah, Ms. Lynn, he ain't let
workers have evidence support this movement.
Ms. Lynn, as far as I know, he ain't let out no mass murderers and no things like that. Like, he ain't done nothing like that.
What would you say to American consumers who are worried that prices
That they do support this move? I love the steel makers. That's, of course, because they want to save their businesses. U.S. Steel will now be a very valuable company.
These people would have got out from prison overcrowding, a good behavior, early parole, all types of shit.
Anybody that makes steel is going to be great. Anybody that works in big steel is going to be very happy.
What do you say to consumers who are worried about prices?
Oh, I don't think you're going to. No, you're going to ultimately have a price reduction because they're going to make their steel here. There's not going to be any tariff. These foreign companies will move to the United States, will make their steel and aluminum in the United States. Ultimately, it'll be cheaper, but we'll also have jobs, many, many more jobs.
So what are you looking at in terms of tariffs on cars and chips?
Well, we're looking at numbers, and we'll be coming up with a number, but we make some of the finest cars in the world, and some companies prohibit us from selling those cars in their countries, but they sell us cars. They send cars to us, and we don't do that. Nothing or 2.5%.
This is true.
They'll be charging much more than that if you look at some of them. So I think those days are over. But we'll be announcing on other things such as cars. We got some other things we'll be doing, but the biggest thing is reciprocal. We want tariffs to be fair. If they charge us, we charge them.
Reciprocal tariffs?
We'll be doing reciprocal over the next, I would say 2 days, don't you think? 2 days, yeah, maybe.
Mr. President, the Australian Prime Minister has said that you are considering an exemption for Australia on steel. Is that correct?
I just spoke to him. Very fine.
I'm not trying to be funny or nothing, but him and Joe Biden are maybe a year apart. They the same age, and he clearly has more vitality than Biden does. And if we say, well, the presidency ages in all that, he was in office before Biden, and he didn't come out stumbling and bumbling and moving old in orthopedic shoes. He ain't forgetting his lines and shit.
Man, and he has a surplus. I mean, we have a surplus with Australia, one of the few. And the reason is they buy a lot of airplanes. They are rather far away.
Gabe, I didn't think
airplanes, and we actually have a surplus. It's one of the only countries which we do. And I told him that that's something that we will give great consideration to.
And would you consider one for the UK as well?
Well, huge deficit with the UK. Big difference.
You don't have a deficit with Argentina. Is that country also going to be?
We have a little deficit with Argentina. We almost with every country, but Australia, because of the airplanes, they buy a lot of airplanes. There's a little bit of a surplus.
Mr. President, if other countries retaliate,
I don't mind.
What is your plan for example, farmers? Last term,
Well, the farmers are going to be helped greatly. Yeah, the farmers are going to be helped greatly because when they're not going to be dumping everything into our country. This will be a great bill for farmers. And in terms of retaliation, if they retaliate, it's, as I said, it's reciprocal. So if they raise it a little bit, then we raise it automatically. So I don't think it helps for them to retaliate. But also remember this, they can't really retaliate because we're the piggy bank. We're the piggy bank. But if we don't do this, we won't be the piggy bank for long. We won't be much of a country.
Mr. President, you see that report, sir, that Hamas is going to stop releasing Israeli hostages, and what was your reaction?
I think it's terrible. Look, I looked at the hostages that came in, and they're emaciated. It looked like something out of the 1930s. It's an absolute disgrace. And I think they saw the way the world viewed it. and they're looking for a reason not to send more because they're all. You take a look at that. It looked like it was a concentration camp, which essentially it was. It looked like they came out of the Holocaust, and what a sad thing. One of them was a young man, good-looking guy, a little bit heavier than perhaps he could have been, and now he looks like he's not even recognizable. Not even recognizable. Look, I can tell you that those people have been badly hurt, both mentally and physically. I'm talking about the young women that came out also previously. And I think one of the reasons they're doing this is because they're probably sending the best. What you see is probably the best because they want to send people that look at least healthy. And that's not healthy. These people have been badly hurt. They've been interviewed by representatives, interviewed by Israeli representatives. They're really hurting. And I think Hamas is looking at that and saying, well, it's not going to get much better than that because they probably send out their best as a representative. And they've got more to send out. And they probably feel that they can't do that because it's not going to make them look very good.
Does the ceasefire delay that, or should the ceasefire then be off?
Well, I would say this, and I'm going to let that be because that's Israel's decision. But as far as I'm concerned, if all of the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off and let hell break out. I'd say they ought to be returned by 12 o'clock on Saturday. And if they're not returned, all of them, not in drips and drabs, not 2 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 2. Saturday at 12 o'clock. And after that, I would say all hell is going to break out. And I don't think they're going to do it. I think a lot of them are dead. I think a lot of the hostages are dead. I think it's a great human tragedy. What's happened? How people can be that mean to do. I mean, the one guy was laughing when a hostage he thought his family was alive. Found out the family was dead, and his captor, so to speak, started laughing because he thought it was so funny. You know, this is a different group of people. No, I would say Saturday at 12, we want them all back. I'm speaking for myself. Israel can override it. But from myself, Saturday at 12 o'clock, and if they're not here, all hell is going to break out.
Mr. President, in an interview this weekend, you said that Palestinians would not be guaranteed the right to return to Gaza if the U.S. were to develop it. What did you mean by that?
We've spoken to a lot of Palestinians. They would love to leave Gaza if they could find a place to be. And I've spoken to various leaders of various countries in the not so, distant area from where we're talking about, the Gaza Strip. And I think they were very positive about providing land. What we need is land. And if we could build a nice place for people to live safely, everybody in Gaza would do it. They've been persecuted. They've been spit on. They've been treated like trash. And they would love to get out of Gaza.
Good morning, Truth.
Good morning.
You missed my opening salve or my opening news story.
What? Hi, everybody.
You missed my opening news story.
What's that?
Look at the screen. I'm gonna read it. Look at it. I'm
I'm
gonna read
looking.
it to you. It says, Plaintiff Griffin is an African-American woman with diagnosed and documented mental health conditions, all recognized by the Americans with Disabilities Act or Association, whichever one you want. This makes plaintiff a member of 2 protected classes relevant to this action. It's documented she crazy, she get a check. And it's also documented that her oldest daughter, I think, baby UP mama is a she be touching kids. She be touching folks. You just go look at my commune posts. Yeah, she be touching kids. And Helm Head threatened to kill Tiara and herself. So she's gonna kill them both. Yeah. So she's had more than one CPS case. This a different case from the shit at the school. Got to be. Yeah, this one said a home care worker called CPS on her. A home health therapist or some shit called CPS on Helm Head. Because her baby said she was scared of her because she said she was going to kill him. And this is after the baby
had been assaulted by the oldest foster Griffin. There's just a house of horrors going on over there, man. Just a house of damn horrors. How in the hell? But this is what I want to. This is what I need to know from the state of Michigan. If this woman has been diagnosed and documented with mental health conditions, how in the fuck did y'all consider her to be a foster parent? That is a failure on the system. Y'all are putting kids who are already fucked up in a house with a crazy motherfucker. How? That's what I don't understand. How in the fuck was she ever accepted to be able to be a foster parent in the first goddamn place? Having mental health issues documented. Even after it was documented, they still continued to let her have children, even though the bitch is crazy. And it's documented she wasn't following the therapist's orders. Whether the therapist was for her or for the children, don't know. But when I get the full court case, I'm gonna read. I got them as little excerpts from the court case. I'm waiting on it. My source said give them a couple days, and then I'm gonna just read all the documents. We're gonna look at them and read them and things of that nature. But that was my first shocking news story. Yeah, man, he got a fucked up house over there. And she crazy, legally. And that's why she do everything she do, because she can fall back on being crazy.
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
Hey, Hill, man, I know you've been watching. You probably were the first one seeing my commune post. And you like, motherfucker, how does he keep doing it? I told you I got a cold-ass team. Ain't nobody never heard this about you, ma'am. Nope, this new. You mad. You was really upset this morning. I know it. Go on, do your lives and holler and cuss, and I don't care. You do that every day anyway. So I take great pride and pleasure when I can fuck you up one time and just know I ruined your week.
Lord have mercy.
But
crazy bitch.
Until now, they never had an alternative. Now they have an alternative. And as far as Hamas is concerned, you're seeing the real Hamas now with the hostages.
What is it on Gaza?
Who are you from? Where?
The Wall Street Journal, sir.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Jordanian leader is coming into
Truth, that crazy bitch on live
tomorrow. Taking in more Gaza, more Palestinians. How are you going to convince him to do otherwise?
I think he'll take. I mean, I do think he'll take, and I think other countries will take also. They have good hearts. I think they'll take.
But what about the Palestinians who just won't leave?
They're all going to leave when they have a place that's a better alternative.
Oh, Truth, she also pleaded no contest to the CPS charges. She ain't say, I'm innocent. Nope, she pleaded no contest.
When they have a nice place that's safe, they're all going to leave. It's a hellhole right now.
But how are you so sure? Would the U.S. force them to leave?
You're going to see that they're all going to want to leave.
Mr. President, when it comes to Saturday at noon, there's an American hostage who's still being held by Hamas right now.
Look, who knows? Are they alive? Are they not alive? But I saw the condition. When I saw the condition of the last ones that came out, and the women too, everybody. The one woman had her hand blown off because she was trying to stop a bullet being fired at her, okay? Kind of a situation as that. You saw her. I just think it's time to either you release everybody. They're not going to be alive right now. Based on what I saw over the last 2 days, they're not going to be alive for long. Saturday at 12 o'clock. And after that, it's going to be a different ballgame.
Mr. President, when you say all hell is going to break loose, are you speaking about retaliation from
You'll find out, and they'll find out too. Hamas will find out what I mean.
Mr. President,
they're going to find out what I mean. These are sick people, and they'll find out what I mean Saturday at 12 o'clock.
But no involvement with the U.S.
Palestinians from the West Bank, are they going to be relocated to?
Right now they're there, and I assume they want to remain there. It's different. They're there. It's never been like what we're talking about with the Gaza Strip.
So they're going to continue? You have
No, I have no plans there.
Mr. President, regarding the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Democrats, including Elizabeth Warren, have said that by freezing it, it's giving big banks and giant corporations a green light to small families.
Pocahontas, the faker. That was set up to destroy people. She used that as her little personal agency to go around and destroy people. And she's a fake. just like she said she was an Indian, and she wasn't an Indian. You have more Indian blood in you than she has. She went to college based on the fact that she was an Indian. She got jobs based on the fact that she was an Indian. She's a fake. That was
he talking about
that was set
Kamala
up to
Harris?
destroy some very good people, and it worked. I mean, it worked. A lot of great people. I'll tell you, before I ever heard the term, people would come up to me in the Midwest and areas and say, "Sir, I'm being destroyed by them." They use that to destroy people. She's a nasty woman. She's a really nasty woman, despite her phony beer commercial. Now, we did the right thing. That was a very important thing to get rid of. And it was also a waste. I mean, number one, it was a bad group of people running it, but it was also a waste. If you looked at when she really ran it, wow, that was a vicious group of people. They really destroyed a lot of people.
You can confirm it's your goal is to have it totally eliminated,
I
the
would
agency?
say, yeah, because we're trying to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse.
What's next?
And didn't I hear that somebody made like $38 million or something running a little agency? What was her name? What was her name? And what did she do? And what was that all about? All the money that she made? Does anybody know? Okay. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Good to see you. The latest CBS poll has your approval ratings at an all-time high, despite all these controversial subjects and executive orders that you're doing. I want to get your thoughts on that, how you've really connected to mainstream America.
Yeah, I have high approval ratings because I'm using common sense, whether it's getting men out of women's sports. I mean, have you seen what goes on with the boxers and with the weightlifters and with the swimmers and everything? It's so ridiculous. And I think it's a 90% issue. And, the amazing thing, the Democrats are still fighting.
And what's crazy is he has to specify, I'm getting men out of women's sports, because the studs that are turning, well, the women that are turning into men aren't trying to be in the NBA. And they couldn't because they would get their ass whooped because they playing real men as the girls still. So they don't even try to compete. It ain't no girls that have turned to men that are trying to play any boys' sports in college, high school, or none of that shit, because they're going to be at a disadvantage. The men are doing it because they couldn't compete against other men. And so now they get to go against women who they're just physically faster, stronger, bigger than. That's what the order really is getting grown-ass men out of women's sports.
Fighting for it. It's crazy. It's crazy. I think we should go to Congress also, have that cemented and, make it indelible. But it's, to me, it's all common sense. Who wants an open border where prisons are dumped into our country, where prisoners are led into our country, many of whom are murderers. Many of whom murdered far more than one person. And they're now roaming our country. Who wants that? I mean, it's terrible. Steve, I'd like you to say a couple of words about it.
Yes, well, as you know, Mr. President, since you issued your day one executive orders, border crossings are down approximately 95%. You talk to agents on the line, in their entire careers, they've never seen crossing days as low as what they're experiencing right now. The cartels, in fact, are enormously frustrated because they've never seen a clampdown like this before in American history. There are people who were working at Border Patrol back when it was INS in the 80s and 90s. They've never seen a day like this. That's because you've mobilized the 10th Mounted Division, the Marines, the entire U.S. military. They're erecting physical miles of barrier, temporary and ultimately permanent, every single day. You have all of your border agents pushed at the front line. They're not doing the humanitarian processing, quote unquote, that Biden was doing. They're doing law enforcement and national security. They're interdicting weapons and drugs. They're interdicting violent, high-threat criminals. And the U.S. military is repatriating illegal immigrants at a pace and a scale that has never occurred before in American history. And those who are committing human trafficking and child trafficking are being prosecuted for felony offenses, and they'll be doing hard time in jail. There's never been a lockdown like what you have implemented through your orders and vision since you took the oath of office.
What's your thoughts on DOGE Wednesday at 10 a.m. They're having the first subcommittee focus on the fraud and Medicaid?
Yeah, before I discuss that, I just want to add to what Steve said. And we want people to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. They have to go through a process. And we have to know that they haven't killed 9 people, or they haven't killed, like in one case, five people, and they're out on the loose, and we're all looking for that particular individual. This was all led in by Biden and a group of stupid people, bad people and stupid people. Some are bad, some are stupid, some are both. But I'll tell you what they've done to this country, but we're cleaning it up. And
that man is a fool. He don't mind saying this shit. Bad people and stupid people. Some of them are both. Fuck it.
Hard to believe I can say it. It'll be better than ever before. But we have a lot of bad people we have to get at. We're searching out for a lot of them. I think Tom Holman and Christie are doing an unbelievable job. Christie Noam they're doing an unbelievable job. They're taking out massive numbers of people. And you notice every country is accepting those people back. Remember, everyone said, oh, they'll never accept them. They're all taking them back. They have to. They're all taking them back. Every single country is taking them back. I don't know if they want them or not. I don't imagine they do, but they're taking them back.
Are you going to talk to Zelensky this week?
Back on Gaza, you talked with Fox News about the billions of dollars we pay for Jordan and Egypt every year. Would you?
Sure, why not? I mean, if they don't agree, I would conceively withhold aid. Yeah.
Are you going to talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu about the sanity deadline?
Sure. I mean, it's just my deadline, but they may change it. But I think it's. I've seen too many people come out. They look like Holocaust victims from many years ago. I've never seen anything like it. I didn't think this could happen in this world today. You know, we think we have a civilized world. It's not civil. These are bad people we're dealing with. So that would be my suggestion. And he can open it up or not open it up, and that would be my. Do you have anything to say about that? Your commerce, but you have a lot to say from the standpoint of your faith and your religion. Go ahead.
So it's amazing that 4 years of nothing, and you completely start to move the needle. You have hostages. I, for one, can't be more impressed with the outcomes that you've driven, and choosing this Saturday to save people's lives or just be done with it seems like just the right choice.
But I think it's time to come up with a date. What are we going to do? Keep every week 2 people, 3 people? No, I don't think you can do that anymore. These are very seriously endangered people. These are endangered people. I don't think they're going to last very long. You know, the people that came out yesterday, they wouldn't last very long.
Were you ruling out any U.S. involvement in whatever happens after this deadline?
We'll see what happens.
You talk with Zelensky this week, sir?
Yeah, probably.
By telephone, what's your
He
message?
wants to make a deal. Let's see. We're dealing with them, and I think they both want to make a deal, but we'll have to see. It's got to be done.
What is Zelensky?
Would have never happened if I were president. This would never have happened. Millions of people are dead.
What will Zelensky have to give up at that time?
We'll talk about that later. Because,
Your reaction to a judge today continuing a pause in the buyout program for federal workers?
well, I don't know how you can lose a case like that. We're talking about people, you know, everybody. I got elected on making government better, more efficient, and smaller. And that's what we're doing. And I think it was a very generous buyout, actually. Also, if people don't show up to work, we have a right to fire them. And they have an option. They can show up to work or not. If they don't want to show up to work, they'll let them work. Because then the next step is, have you worked before? Have you worked during this time that you're supposed to be working? You'll find many of those people, in my opinion, have had other jobs, even though they're collecting money from the federal government. Many have had, in my opinion, other jobs. And if they did, that's a big problem.
If the buyout's a block in court, will you instead pursue layoffs in federal departments?
I don't know how they can do. This is free will. This is a buyout where people, you know, they were offered a good deal. Many people have taken that, as you know. But, you know, many of those people, and we talk about reporting to work, right? I happen to be a believer that you have to go to work. I don't think you can work from home. I don't know. It's like there's a whole big, you can work from home. Nobody's going to work from home. They're going to be going out.
I disagree with that, Trump. The world has changed, sir. The world has changed. You can work from home. I'm sure the studies will show it. I'm sure somebody's been showing it, that production is probably a lot higher at home. I'm pretty sure if anybody has been doing studies on this since COVID, I'm sure they'll show that production levels pre-COVID and post-COVID totally different. And it's because people are working from home. They're comfortable. They ain't got to get up early in the morning and make that 30-minute drive, maybe that hour drive to work. They can wake up a few minutes earlier, just put on a sweatshirt and be sitting naked from the bottom down, doing whatever they got to do. Answering the phone, having Zoom meetings, whatever it is. Disagree with that.
You're going to play tennis?
But you talking about federal jobs, though, so that's a whole different thing. The private sector's not doing it. They understand what they're getting. The people that need bodies in their buildings, they're doing so.
They're going to play golf. They're going to do a lot of things. They're not working. It's a rare person that's going to work. You might work 10% of the time, maybe 20%. I don't think you're going to work a lot more than that. And I think they have an obligation to work, and they have an obligation not to have a second job when they're supposed to be working for the federal government. You're going to find that a lot of the jobs, instead of working for, they'll be collecting a federal government
He
check,
said that
and they'll be
twice.
working 2 jobs. And that's big trouble for them.
You've said a lot about South Africa in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's hosting the G20 summit this year. Are you planning to attend this, or are you skipping it and telling your cabinet?
So if you work for the federal government, you can't have another job? Is that like in a contract you sign? Because I knew IRS workers that was DoorDash.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not sure though, but
So what the fuck is he talking about, saying you'll find out a lot of them had second jobs? Like, what the hell is wrong with that? And they're working for us. Apparently y'all ain't paying enough.
he just said everybody need to work. Shit,
He said they need to come in to work.
I know.
We'll see what happens, but the South African situation is very, very dangerous and very bad for a lot of people. There's tremendously bad things going on, including the confiscation of property, and worse, much worse than that. You know what I'm talking about. And we're not making any payments until we find out what's going on in South Africa. Yes,
What's next for General Kellogg going to Ukraine this week or soon?
Yeah, it is Keith Kellogg. General Kellogg is an excellent guy, and he's spending time doing various things. We have numerous people working on numerous different problems. You know, when I left office, wasn't long ago, a little more than 4 years ago, we had no wars, we didn't have problems. Now we got the whole world is blowing up, but we'll put out the fires.
You've been talking to Vladimir Putin. Are you trying to set up a meeting with him?
Well, I can't tell you what I'm talking about, but we are talking as a group also. I think I'd like to make a deal, but it takes 2 to tango.
So, I mean, you can't give us any more clarity on whether you personally have spoken to him.
I don't want to talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it. It's not going to help you to know, but we would like to get a deal done if possible, only because in my case, save lives. You know, we're much further away. Remember, we have an ocean separating. They don't. Europe should.
In other words, nigga, he said, it ain't none of your damn business. It's not going to help you to know. How is it going to help you? I like this guy.
Be paying what we're paying. And Europe has done it more in the form of a loan than with us. We just give it. You know, Biden gives it because he's not a smart individual, not a very smart individual.
Good morning, amazing.
We have people over there today who are making a deal that as we give money, we get minerals and we get oil and we get all sorts of things, because why are we doing this? And all this money, where if it?
Oh, Truth Amazing says if you work for government, you have to get approval for second job. And I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm trying to remember in the military, did I ever remember? I don't ever remember other people like working or anybody ever having a second job when we were in the military. I don't recall.
Because I don't know a lot of people. I don't know a lot of people that work for the government. I know a lot of people work for the state. But that's weird. Okay, thanks, amazing.
No, we didn't have second jobs simply because you're on. You pretty much the government's property. You could go to work and think you're gonna work your 73, and they come to you with 258 and say you got to work a double, and it ain't nothing you could do. Well, you can, but you're gonna get disciplined for it, and it's just not worth it. So yeah, you couldn't have another job in the military. So that's one branch of government that you for sure can't have a second job because you always on call. That's understandable though. Like if you, like I said, I knew IRS workers and shit that was DoorDashing and stuff, but they had set shifts and all of that. There wasn't no calling in and no shit like that. No, I mean, like nobody's calling them in saying we need you to work, because they always have thousands of people in their motherfucker at a time.
Maybe 350 billion, and Europe's in for 100 billion. And Europe's in really as a form of a loan. In theory, they get that money back. In theory, they get interest on their money. It's a whole different ballgame. And Biden is the one that started doing this. Every time Zelensky came here, he walked away with $60 to $100 billion. I think he's one of the greatest salesmen who have ever lived, by the way.
Can you discuss your intentions with the Kennedy Center, which you're now board chair? So
we took over the Kennedy Center. We didn't like what they were showing and various other things. And I I had a lot of the board members already, as you know, and we have some that will be replaced. But we have, I guess, a whole new group of people going in. I have Rick Grinnell, who's got some experience in that world. He's very good. Going to be handling it on a temporary basis. I think he'll do a great job, but we're going to get some great professionals. I'm going to be chairman of it, and we're going to make sure that it's good and it's not going to be woke. There's no more woke in this country. This woke has cost us a fortune and cost us our reputation, but the reputation's coming back very, very rapidly. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. The penny is gone.
Go, penny's gone. Is the nickel next?
What about anything? Good luck. The penny is gone.
It's seriously, somebody is the penny gone. I hadn't heard anything about this until this last night when I heard it. I hadn't heard anything, but I guess they useless. I guess they saying they ain't making them now. You can still take them. They said, how is that going to work? Are people going to stop accepting them, or are they just going to stop making them?
The penny cost this government a lot. Thank you very much.
Well, it sounds like they're going to stop making them because you said it cost the government a lot to make it. They're going to be collector's items. Some stores are going to stop taking them, but copper is still in them.
Thank you, guys.
Damn, that just made them stop asking questions. Shut up. Get out. Ooh.
A married mom of 3 and school counselor at a prestigious Catholic high school has not only been fired, but now she faces 6 counts of sexual battery. Emily Nutley could face 15 years in prison after police say she used her position to seduce a teenage boy and coerce him into an illicit sexual relationship. We're going to take a closer look at the allegations with former criminal prosecutor Dan Shore. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. We got another female teacher who is accused of manipulating one of her male students into having sex with her. And this time, the allegation is that it happened in her own office at a high school near Cincinnati, Ohio. So Hamilton County prosecutors, they have charged 42-year-old Emily Nutley with 6 counts of sexual battery. Those are third-degree felonies.
I'm going to point out, it'd be mostly white women. It'd be mostly white women.
And it's our understanding if she's convicted, she could be facing up to 15 years in prison and she would have to register as a sex offender. Now, according to the district attorney's office, Nutley was a teacher at St. Xavier High School. This is a Catholic school in Springfield Township, a Catholic school of all places. She apparently was the supervisor of a program that helped kids who were
in front of Jesus
struggling academically. She just started at the school when this alleged misconduct reportedly happened. Authorities say the victim.
What?
He need to stop acting shocked that stuff like that happened at the Catholic school. He need to stop. I mean, the shit happens everywhere. Don't get it twisted. But I've heard that guy. He talking about at the Catholic school. I'm like, babe, we don't hold some horror stories about the church. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, he's doing it for dramatic effect.
He has to. He has to be. Shit.
But most of the time, the stuff at the church is gay activities. It's priests and little boys. It was never priests and girls, really. It was just priests and little boys. That's weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Like all them niggas gay.
Oh, no. It's all of it is sick.
A male student who was 17 years old at the time had been assigned to the program in the fall of 2023. And that is when they say Nutley and this boy started getting physical. They were also communicating over the phone. Prosecutors say Nutley sent the victim nude photos, sexually.
And her last name, Nutley.
Don't do it, Trey. Don't do it. That is not
her
funny.
last name, Nutley.
That is not
yes,
funny.
it is. It is definitely funny. What are the odds, Miss Nutley? I bet you are.
Explicit text messages. The indictment against Nutley, it isn't available to the public to obviously protect the victim, but the state says that Nutley performed oral sex on him at least once while on school grounds and one time off campus. And she also allegedly had sexual intercourse with him after hours in her school office. Now, the victim apparently tried to stop these encounters with Nutley from continuing on, but she allegedly harassed him over text messages. Officials say school administrators, they got wind of what was happening. They launched an internal investigation, brought this.
She went crazy over the young dick.
Alleged conduct to light, and then the school had contacted the Springfield Township Police to do a criminal investigation, and now we know that she's facing charges. Now you might be asking, who is Emily Nutley? Well, she is a married mother of three who reportedly previously worked as a counselor at a kindergarten, worked with special needs kids at that school before being hired by the high school. Also, we did a little bit of research of our own, and we checked into Nutley using a powerful background checker called Truthfinder. And the only criminal history that she apparently has is related to not registering a dog more than 10 years ago. By the way, Long Prime, we partner with Truthfinder. We use it to get details, to give you some peace. You can get confidential back. Said in a statement to the community that they think this is an isolated incident, but they encourage anybody who has information to come forward. In a statement, Hamilton County Prosecutor Melissa Power said, "Let me be very clear. This is child sexual abuse. This child was the victim of an adult predator who should never again have a role that puts her in contact with children. She used this child for her own sexual gratification while taking advantage of the position she held. My office will prosecute this matter fully and thoroughly to ensure that justice is served." Online court records show that Nutley is due back in court on November 8th, so we will see how this case progresses. But right now, I want to bring in former criminal prosecutor Dan Shore to talk a little bit more about this. Dan, good to see you. It's been a minute. Thanks so much for coming on.
Jesse, it's always great to talk with you. Thanks for having me on.
Talk to me about the...
Dan knows long as a motherfucker. What the fuck? Dan got a caveman nose. Good grief.
His whole head long.
These allegations, you know, it's just, I cover.
He got an oval face.
A lot of these stories, and each one I think is just as shocking as the next. But what do you take away from it?
One thing is the societal evolution of stories like this, because I started as a sex crimes prosecutor 25 years ago, and we would sometimes prosecute female teachers who had sex with underage male students. And we found with juries and people in society, they weren't really taken seriously, unfortunately, that people generally saw sex abuse as having to be an older man with a younger woman, or maybe an older man and a younger boy. But the situations with an older female and a younger boy weren't taken as seriously. Now I think we're in a better place in society where we recognize that this is sex abuse, that the boy in this case, if the allegations are true, experienced a situation that is highly inappropriate, can be traumatizing, and needs to be taken seriously regardless of gender. So I'm glad to see that this prosecutor is taking these types of allegations seriously, and that's a big difference in the way things used to be.
It's interesting you say that, because that comment from the prosecutor where she said, double down, this is child sexual abuse. I couldn't tell if that was because the alleged victim, 17 years old, almost the age of consent, or was a boy, is a male. I couldn't tell, but having to double down and explain that this is child sexual abuse. What did you take away from that?
I think that there's still an attitude among some people in society that if it's a boy, especially a teenage boy, there's kind of like a wink, wink, like, oh, I'm sure he's happy about that. I'm sure it's a positive for him. And I know from prosecuting sex abuse cases and working with sex abuse victims that a boy of that age can have severe trauma and problems later in life because of what they experience if they're taken advantage of by a female teacher. And I think the prosecutor used that language to really accentuate that this is sex abuse. This isn't someone who's underage. And the older person isn't just older, but they are also in a position of power and control. Being a teacher, there is an inherent power differential between someone who's in that supervisory teacher capacity and someone who's a student. And it's hard to get away from a situation like that. If someone is a student of somebody, or in a different situation, an employee of someone, they don't have sometimes the power to get away from a situation that makes it even more problematic.
How straightforward of a case is this to prosecute? Because my understanding is, and I looked this up, one of the ways that it's defined sexual battery under Ohio laws, the other person is a minor, the offender is a teacher, administrator, coach, or other person in authority employed by or serving in an institution of higher education, and the other person is enrolled in or attends that institution. So that's one of the categories of sexual battery. But how straightforward of a prosecution is this?
Well, on the one hand, it's straightforward in the sense that there is what's called strict liability for a crime like this, that the notion of consent that we often think of about whether someone specifically gave consent to sexual acts, that's not part of the calculation for a prosecution. As you just said, if they're in that power position and sexual activity occurred, then that is enough for it to be non-consensual. So it's simpler in that respect. However, you still do need someone to say that the sexual activity occurred. And even though you have all those text messages, photos, but it still may come down to whether the victim here is willing to testify. There's often just emotional and other challenges to going to court and giving your story. But yes, if the 17-year-old boy alleges these facts, then it is usually a more straightforward case than other cases where the defendant can say, no, it was consensual, because the defendant can't say that in a case like this.
How do you put that victim on the stand whenever this trial would happen, if the trial actually happens, recounting what happened to him? How do you prepare a witness like that? And also, how do you prepare them for cross-examination?
Yeah, I've prepared a lot of child sex abuse victims for testifying. This boy is 17, or at least 17 when this happened. I've had victims who are 7, 8, 9, and that age. So the younger they are, the tougher it is. But you really want to explain to them that they did nothing wrong. You want them to practice telling their narrative, because it's uncomfortable for any person, an adult or someone who's underage, to talk about sexual acts in a public setting like a court. And it's really important that you explain to them how the questions are going to be. For cross-examination, often you need to have a mock cross-examination where you tell them the types of tough questions that they may be asked. It's important that the victim never be surprised by the questions that are asked. Sometimes an attorney who's cross-examining them may be rude and aggressive, and you want to tell them to just not take that personally, not react in kind, just stay calm, just give your answers. As you said before, this case may be more straightforward because the victim's credibility is probably not as much of an issue, because it's not about consent in terms of did he agree to the sex acts. The fact that she's a teacher and he's a student is enough under the law to make it non-consensual. So there may be less of a vigorous cross-examination, but that's generally how I would prepare someone for that.
And how would she defend herself by saying this didn't happen? What would that evidence look like? What would cross-examination of this boy look like?
Sure. Well, as we've been talking about, if the sex acts happened, then there would probably be a conviction, because that's enough under the law. Right, so right. The defense would probably have to be, yes, we flirted. Yes, I exchanged inappropriate texts, but we never actually had any sex. So I did do other inappropriate things. That might be enough to stop someone from being convicted for the non-consensual sexual acts. There may be other consequences from just texting like that with a student, but that would probably be the nature. They can't say, well, he agreed to have sex with me, because that's not a defense under the law.
I just think, and I've seen this before in sexual assault cases, not even involving minors, when you have defense attorneys who are grilling the alleged victims, the accusers, that can turn a jury off. And in your experience, have you seen it work the other way? Have you seen a defense attorney grill an alleged victim who says that they were a minor when they were abused, and it work, and the defendant be found not guilty?
I mean, certainly people are found not guilty in cases like this, but it is just tactically one of the most difficult things for an attorney to do is to cross-examine a sex abuse accuser who's a child, because you have to show that they're not being honest or that they're misperceiving events in order to get the defendant acquitted. But at the same time, you don't want to be attacking someone who is A, a child, and B, allegedly experiencing sex abuse. So maneuvering that is really, really challenging. And you're right, it could backfire if you're too aggressive.
This would be a very, very difficult trial. I say this a lot when you're dealing with minors who are, there's an allegation that they were abused. You don't want to put them on the stand unless you have to. You don't want to go to a trial unless you have to. So in an effort to avoid the time, the expense, the heartache of going to a trial like this, prosecutors want to work out a plea with her? And what would a plea even look like?
Absolutely. And I think both sides have an interest in having a plea here. The defendant is facing significant prison time. She doesn't have any real criminal record. You mentioned the dog licensing issue, but besides that, she doesn't have a criminal record that we know of. So she would not be, if she could probably arrange for a plea bargain, that would be much less severe than that. And as you said, the victim's family may not want to have him go forward with a public trial. So you could have a plea bargain. There could be a probationary sentence. There could be minimal prison sentence that's less than the maximum. They would have a lot of it is based on what the victim and the victim's family wants. Usually their recommendations are taken very, very seriously by the prosecutor, although ultimately the prosecutor has to make that decision.
If she took this to trial and was convicted, would she really be looking at 15 years in prison?
Hypothetically, I would say it's unlikely that she gets that because she doesn't have a criminal record in the past. Now, a judge could do anything that they want after a conviction at trial, and it's very risky to go to trial for that reason for a defendant. But I would doubt that she would get the maximum, considering that there's one victim here and that there's no criminal record. But she probably would get some kind of prison term if she was convicted at trial.
Since you've seen these kinds of cases before, I've noticed a theme as well. A lot of the people who are arrested for this, it's not like they're loners and single. They're married or they're in relationships, so they have fiancés. She's married with 3 kids. Why do we see people like this, assuming these allegations are true, engaging in this behavior?
Right. Well, we could do a whole long podcast on that topic. Just because someone's married with kids, they may be having a lot of problems in their lives. Maybe they experienced some kind of sex abuse when they were younger. Maybe their marriage is unhappy. And Sometimes people either have affairs or commit acts like this because they're looking for something outside their marriage. And often it happens in an employment setting because those may be the only people that someone interacts with other than when they're home with their spouse and their kids, the people they see at work. And this she sees at work allegedly was her student. So that's extremely inappropriate. But there's a lot of things going on in people's lives that we don't know about that can drive someone to do this. And of course, she is innocent until proven guilty. So she may have a defense that explains this in a way that means she's not guilty. But those are some of the reasons that I've seen in cases like this that motivate people.
What also stands out to me is the vulnerable nature. So and that's what the law provides. Right? You're in this administrative position. You have a sense of control, and you can take advantage of a student, but also an at-risk, at Catholic school. That's the part that also kind of elevates this to a different level.
Well, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of sex abuse cases in religious institutions, right. Catholic Church cases. Every religion has had, unfortunately, sex abuse scandals. So the idea that a religious institution is less likely to have sex abuse is just not accurate based on what really happens in the world. But yes, ideally, you would think this person who is at a Catholic institution would not do something like this, but we just know from life experience that's not true.
From this limited information about the case, but
Long nose said what you said, True.
The fact that the school conducted their own investigation and then that led to a criminal investigation, does the school face any liability as a result of this?
It's possible. The biggest liability a school faces here is often if they knew about a situation and they didn't take the necessary steps to stop it. So if a school had warning signs about a teacher and didn't act on it, or there were policies and procedures that were in place that they didn't follow, those are the types of things that often lead to school liability. But just the fact that she was an employee of the school could lead to a lawsuit. Often they do. Mostly these cases are settled, and we see that a lot where institutions have to pay large settlements because of what their employees did with alleged sex abuse.
My gosh, it is quite a situation. A lot of people affected. So it's not only you have to think about the alleged victim in this case, his family, but her family.
A 28-year-old Illinois woman is accused of sending nude pics to a teenager. And even worse, she was working as a juvenile court counselor.
She fine. The other white girl was all right. She fine though. This one here.
At the time of the incident, Bailey Hoyt is now facing felony charges as police say she sent explicit photos to a 17-year-old boy who was in custody. The details of this case could shock you, but let's start at the beginning. It dates back to 2019 when Hoyt started working as a juvenile counselor at the Robert Depke Juvenile Complex Center in Vernon Hills, Illinois. The facility works to help rehabilitate troubled teens. Now, authorities
Gabe, you smashed it, wouldn't you?
say Hoyt met the 17-year-old boy, the survivor in this case, while he was in custody at the center. He was later released, and after that, that's when they were outside of the facility. But what started as friendly messages quickly turned into something much more disturbing. Hoyt apparently engaged in lewd text messages with the teen and sent him naked photos of herself. Investigators even say Hoyt encouraged the boy to delete these messages and photos to avoid getting caught. In January of 2023, Hoyt resigned from her job before law enforcement learned of this inappropriate behavior. But it didn't take long for police to connect the dots. The Lake County Sheriff's Office launched an investigation and soon discovered the full extent of what allegedly happened. According to court records, Hoyt was charged with official misconduct, that's a Class 3 felony, as well as distributing harmful material to a minor, that's a Class 4 felony. Authorities issued a warrant for her arrest, and she was taken into custody while she was working at her new job, which is even more shocking. According to her LinkedIn, she had just started working as a paraprofessional at North Shore School District, just days before her arrest. Now, a spokesperson confirmed Hoyt was immediately placed on leave and is no longer allowed on school property. Yet another disturbing case on the docket today. We're breaking it down now with criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Kathleen Bogenschutz. Kathleen, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, right from the start, this is the question that goes through my mind all the time with these cases. We have an adult who's sending these explicit photos. So there is evidence. We have the photos. Why send these photos that are going to be incriminating?
Why does anybody do anything? It is ridiculous, the kinds of idiocy that some people get up to. Frankly, when I was a prosecutor and I would see somebody do something literally this stupid, I would oftentimes say to a jury, you're right, this person isn't smart. We don't catch the smart ones. I mean, because it just defies all explanation to create that kind of a paper trail. And you have to imagine that there's, the thrill of getting caught, the thrill of knowing that it's improper, that kind of heightens it more than it would for a normal romantic relationship.
You're right. I think the fact that they were communicating and it's not allowed, maybe that was a reason that she wanted to participate or do it. Something that also stood out to me too about all of this is she was messaging the 17-year-old and encouraged him to actually delete the pics, get rid of them, get rid of our conversation. That to me is consciousness of guilt. What do you make of it?
It's consciousness of guilt, and I try not to make it, part of what I do daily to help people get away with crimes or to help them commit them better. But nothing's really deleted on a cell phone. There's usually a way to get your hands on it again. And I don't know how many times you have to tell the general public that it's not going to go away. But we do see this quite a bit. For example, in my area in Tallahassee, we have FCI, which is a women's federal facility. And I cannot tell you how many times we have seen the guards with the inmates. But what makes this unusual here is that first of all, it's a counselor, right? But the second thing is that it's in a juvenile detention facility. So that's I think what kind of piques the interest here.
Let's talk about that because we've had you on our show before. We've talked to many other people about these similar crimes where an adult woman is sexually assaulting a child, but oftentimes it's a teacher. It's not someone. I've yet to see a counselor at a juvenile detention center, basically what we call juvie. That really stands out to me. How do you think that relationship would have started? Would there have been grooming at the juvenile detention center?
I don't know. I know how ours are run in Florida. I know this is an Illinois case, so I can't speak to how Illinois runs their juvenile detention facilities. It's going to be state specific. But usually what happens is juveniles are not shackled. If they're detained in Florida, they're only detained for a short period before trial. And occasionally they can be sent to facilities that are like leveled up programs for longer term periods of time. And it wasn't clear to me as to whether this was a temporary detention pre being adjudicated delinquent, or if this was maybe a treatment facility, because they will have counselors in both of those places. The Department of Juvenile Justice in any state, when they take custody of a child, and for 17 still a child, they're responsible for health, medical, and schooling too. So a lot of times these kids that are in custody, they've got other issues. So they're responsible for making sure a counselor can get in to see them. I don't know if in this state counselor is maybe a similar to a probation officer, or if this is a true like PhD social worker type of counselor. Either way, it's clearly highly inappropriate and illegal.
Let's talk about that counselor side of things. I know you said we don't know exactly what type of counselor she was, because honestly, a lot of facts about this case have not been made public. I think maybe part of it is that we have a 17-year-old who is obviously under the age of 18. So let's just say, for instance, that she is the traditional type of counselor that we think of, a mental health counselor to some degree. Is that a major abuse of power? Because this young student, this child, would be coming to her and talking to her about very intimate things, and she's then creating a relationship with him outside. I mean, is that, again, an abuse of power?
Yeah, and in my state, we also have an additional, like a way to up this kind of a charge. So it's against the law because of his age, sure. But it's also against the law because this person is in a custodial status of the child. So we have familial custodial status. So somebody who is in charge of the child, a teacher, a coach, a tutor, sometimes even an aunt or an uncle, I hate to say it. But it does bring me back to the, one of the things that I learned when I was prosecuting sex crimes, and I did that pretty exclusively for about 8 years, or exclusively for 5 years, and then another 3 after that. What do you need? And I'll take your viewers down the rabbit hole. What do you need if you were the kind of person that wanted to commit this kind of an offense? You would need privacy and access. These are not the kind of crimes that occur on the 50-yard line during the Super Bowl. They occur in private, and they occur in places where they just the victim. So in this scenario with a counselor, let's assume it's an actual counselor, like social worker, clinical, you're not only going to have access because you're going into DJJ for this meeting, but you're going to have privacy because the child is still entitled to privacy in their communications with this counselor. So you have both of those right there if you were the kind of person who wanted to do this. So, I mean, it's almost, and as a parent, it horrifies me. But when you're thinking about maybe having a discussion with your kids about this, and I'll say this as a PSA, if anyone is trying to get you to keep a secret from mom or dad or to keep a secret, that's a red flag that you need to come to us directly. So it is the secrecy, it is the privacy. These things do not happen out in the open.
Hey, so I'm going to take a guess and say a lot of you who watch our videos might be business owners, maybe even starting some sort of side hustle. That's why I have Buy Do or Odoo app organizes. It makes things so on task too, and have other people who are there. It seems that these predators wouldn't commit these acts, you know? And I wanted to talk to you specifically because you have that history, as you mentioned, as a sex crimes prosecutor. Her charges after all of this are official misconduct and distributing harmful material. Do you think that those are appropriate charges?
It's really going to depend on what comes out of this. A lot of times when someone is a victim of one of these offenses, particularly male victims in my experience, what happened comes out piecemeal. That, you know, if you're a male and you are a victim of this underage, that you know that you should like it, or you think it's cool or a big, and maybe in 10 years, you're going to look back on it and realize exactly what happened. But it tends to come out piecemeal, and boys tend to not be as forthcoming as girls when these things happen. So it is entirely possible that there was what we call hands-on crime in this, as opposed to just the texting and the pictures, hands-on being that there was some sort of physical victimization as opposed to the texting, and that we may not find out about it until later. And the other possibility is that there wasn't, but there was some kind of solicitation. So when they dump these cell phones, like for example, this is my iPhone, I forget what year, but it's relatively recent. It has about a terabyte of storage. It takes this is a computer in your pocket. If you try to delete things from it, there's usually ways to get it back. There's pictures, there's latitude and longitude data on it, there's dates and times, and you can pull those out of the pictures. So I get the feeling there's going to be a full forensic on every single device that this woman had in her home, as well as every single device that the child had. And sometimes that does take some time.
You brought up something so important, and I wanted to highlight it too. It's kind of a through line through a lot of these stories that we cover, in that there's this stereotype that young boys, if they're having these intimate relations with their teachers, they should be excited. You know, they're the chosen one, they're lucky. And I'm really happy that you brought it up. Boys can be victims. Men can be victims. I mean, and so sometimes it makes it more tough for them to come forward. But I'm glad that you brought that up, because it is serious no matter the gender. But kind of going off all of that, let's say this is taken to a jury trial. This boy would be the key witness. How would that testimony look like if he doesn't necessarily want to be super cooperative?
And then you also have something in this case that you have in some inmate cases. And for example, I tried a federal case where an employee of the Federal Corrections Institute was having relations with inmates. The mere fact of them being inmates, and the mere fact of him being in the detention center, you've got that built-in credibility buster right there. That like, oh, this is a juvenile delinquent. Oh, he's been in trouble before. Usually if kids are being held in the detention center, there's some kind of a history or it's a more serious charge. There's like a presumption for the kids to go home. And I'm obviously glossing over quite a bit here. I'm just telling you how it works in my state. So you probably do have either a serious charge or a fairly, decent history of a couple of different arrests with this child that you can look back on and say, I put that up in front of the jury and say, you want to trust this kid or you want to trust my client with the PhD or the social work degree? So, it's built in to not believe somebody with that kind of a history. That being said, the electronic trail is pretty damning. And it's entirely possible that they decide, even if there was some kind of hands-on offense here, that maybe we just go with the electronic trail because, I've got this victim and he's not particularly, he's not as lily white as I would prefer to have him. But, and again, go back to things that I would say to juries in closing. People lie. Phones don't lie. Computers don't lie. Dates don't lie. Times don't lie. People lie. And you bring it back to that. And maybe you just go on those offenses with the transmission of the statements and the pictures to go after them and make it a real clean case right there.
You're right. That's how we opened this interview, talking about how there's literal evidence. We have the messages and the photos. We have it right there. And again, you brought up going through her phone history, likely his too. There's a treasure trove of information that could be there, which leads into the next question I have. If she pleads not guilty, it could go to jury trial, but it seems like the prosecution may have a pretty strong case with these images. Do you think this would be more of a jury trial situation or maybe striking a plea deal?
Well, a lot of times, and I do criminal defense now, and having specialized in sex crimes for so long as a prosecutor, I do tend to get quite a few sex crimes cases. A lot of times when the state makes you an offer as the defense attorney on a sex crimes case, the real question is, do you want my guy or girl, do you want them designated? Do you want them to be a sex offender for the rest of their lives? Do you want their picture on the internet with the scarlet letter on them? And a lot of times it really doesn't matter what else goes along with that, whether it's just probation and no incarcerative sentence. But a lot of times we will try cases over that point alone. because it's a pretty onerous thing to be designated as a sex offender. So while I might think, yeah, we've got quite a bit of evidence here. Number one, I don't know if these charges would designate you in Illinois. But number two, let me point out that even if there's this sweetheart plea deal, a lot of times we try these cases over just the designation, just the.
And a really tricky topic to talk about too.
Going to Memphis on this one. As y'all can see, corrections deputy, 2 inmates indicted in jail country.
I want to first start with providing some information regarding an inmate who suffered a medical emergency overnight in the Shelby County Jail at 201 Poplar. We found this inmate unresponsive. We called the Memphis Fire Department, who made the scene at the jail, transported the inmate to Methodist University Hospital in extremely critical condition. We have launched an administrative investigation into what led up to this medical emergency by this inmate, as well as investigation by our General Bureau investigators. We have been in contact with the District Attorney's Office, who has granted the Sheriff's Office the right or the permission to conduct the potential criminal investigation into what led up to this incident involving this inmate. So again, we have an inmate who suffered a medical emergency overnight, who is at Methodist University Hospital in extremely critical condition. We're continuing to monitor this inmate's status, and we are conducting both an investigation by our General Bureau of Investigation, as well as an administrative investigation to determine if there were any policy violations that occurred. So the reason we called a press conference today is to announce the indictment of one of our corrections deputies. This is Corrections Deputy Bianca Granberry. Bianca Granberry was hired by the Sheriff's Office in November of 2020. She graduated from our academy in February of 2021, several weeks after she was hired. In the time that she spent here at the academy, we spent an extensive amount of time talking about inmate manipulation, talking about ethics. We spent a lot of time talking about how other officers have found themselves on the wrong side of the law. Ms. Bianca had extensive training in knowing how to deal with inmates who display behavior consistent with manipulation. She left this academy well-trained. We spent time talking about protecting the brand of the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. We spent time talking about embarrassing her family name. We spent an extensive amount of time talking about public trust. But Ms. Granberry chose to go a different route. On November 13th, 2024, our jail investigators uncovered evidence that suggested that Ms. Bianca Granberry was having an inappropriate relationship with an inmate by the name of Martavius Williams. Investigators determined that Ms. Granberry was aware that Williams had a cell phone in his possession while being detained at the Shelby County Jail. Granberry allegedly engaged in video chats with inmate Williams while he was in jail and she was off work. Well, these conversations led up to what we later found out were monetary transactions that occurred between Williams, Granberry, and members of Williams' friends and family. And the amounts totaled somewhere around $6,400 that were being transferred between these three, or this triangle of people. We conducted a sales search of Williams, and we were able to discover a number of items that are considered contrabands and that were concerning to us. One being a shank. And for those who don't know what a shank is, it's a piece of metal that's been sharpened into an edged weapon. So it's a dangerous weapon inside of a jail setting. But then we also found 2 small bags of marijuana, one that was tucked inside clothing within the cell, but then another small bag of marijuana that was being hidden inside of a Lucky Charms bag. And we weighed both of those bags, and it weighed about 66.7 grams. and wait. So today, we arrested Granberry. She was indicted, and we arrested her outside of an elementary school. And she was charged with official misconduct and bribery of she was charged with official misconduct, yes, and bribery of a public servant. Mr. Williams was charged with 3 counts of introducing contraband into a penal institution and bribery of a public servant. His cellmate, Malik Williams, was indicted on 3 counts of introducing a contraband into a penal facility. So I can tell you this is quite disturbing for us at the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. Correctional officers are essential to the safety and security of inmates, volunteers, and other staff members. We view corrections deputies as protectors and not predators. And so it's disappointing that the same person who was patrolling the hallways of the Shelby County Jail now find themselves on the other side of the law, behind bars. And let me just say this to anyone who's watching. For our correctional officers, I said to a graduating class yesterday, you will never get rich doing this business. You'll never be rich being an officer, but you'll never go hungry. But here's the reality behind it. For anyone who wears the badge, who believes that they are entitled to additional compensation outside of their salary, just like Ms. Granberry, at some point in time, there's going to be a knock at the door. And that knock is going to be our detectives coming to arrest and put them behind bars. Ms. Granberry has been relieved of duty pending the outcome of an administrative investigation, and she's relieved of duty without pay. This is extremely disappointing to find such a young officer who we spent a lot of time training and talking about these very incidents to find themselves behind bars. And with that, I'll take your questions.
What made you start looking into this? Were there obvious signs that she was having an inappropriate relationship?
So some things I won't be able to unpack fully because we obviously have a criminal investigation, not investigation, but we have a trial that we have to prepare for. And we want to make sure that the district attorney's office has the best opportunity to prosecute this case. But I will say that we did receive a tip. We got information that this type of relationship was occurring. And so we assigned some detectives to start looking into the allegations or the tip that we had received. And Lord behold, here we are today with an indictment of a correctional officer.
Is there any possibility that there are other inmates who might have been a part of this as well?
Well, we know the cellmate of Mr. Williams was involved as well. And I can tell you that the investigation continues and we will follow any tip or any evidence wherever it takes us. So if more people are connected to this case, we'll have more arrests, more indictments.
Just a couple of minor things. Can we get spellings on Martavius and Malik? Just want to make sure I got their names right.
Sure, we'll provide that to you after this press conference.
And then, so this is the third corrections deputy that's been indicted since November. So what is SEO doing to kind of prevent this from happening in the future? We're looking at new training, or what are we doing?
Yeah, so we have what we consider a pretty robust background check. And we have one of the finest academies in the state of Tennessee. But unfortunately, people make bad decisions. And so we hope that Granberry will serve as a warning to the next group of correctional officers that's going to come through this academy. But then also for our existing staff, because if it's not clear, if it hasn't been clear before, it should be clear now. We are always watching. We're always looking. We're always supporting the officers to do it the right way, but then we're always ready to investigate and arrest the ones who do it the wrong way.
Is there any, so you mentioned that there were friends and family that were exchanging money to Williams as well. So is there potential for indictments for them?
Yeah, so this investigation continues. And so we are still working with the district attorney's office. We're still in conversations with them. And again, more indictments could come as the investigation continues.
Do we have any idea how the inmate got the cell phone and the other illegal contraband that you mentioned?
We have not made that determination yet as to how Mr. Williams acquired the first cell phone. Thank God we have recovered that cell phone and been able to have some conversations regarding the information or the content that we found inside of it. We hope that Mr. Granberry will share with us additional information, but if not, we'll just conduct our own investigation and see where it takes us.
As far as the transactions, again, were these payments to Williams, like were Granberry and friends and family giving money to him? Was he giving money to them? Like what was kind of going on?
So I'll be brief. I'll be brief in this. What we found was money being sent to Granberry to purchase items. which we believe were contrabands that could have made it inside of our jail. And so there were transactions between Granbury back to this triangle of friends and family, and money coming back to Granbury. So again, this is a unique and interesting case. I don't think I've seen one like it before, but it definitely tells us that we have to sharpen our tools when it comes to investigating these cases. But I am glad that we were able to bring this to a conclusion and get Granbury out of our jail.
What the inmate that you talked about, what was he charged with? You might have said that already.
We'll have to get that information for you after the press conference.
And the earlier information you gave us about the person that passed away, was it at the penal farm or at the 201 farm?
So the inmate from the earlier comments was found at 201 Poplar at the Shelby County Jail. And again, transported to Methodist University Hospital in extremely critical condition.
Did he have physical injuries, or does it seem to be like a health medical just emergency?
So what we've been able to determine, and this is a preliminary investigation, is that the inmate suffered a medical emergency that alerted our correctional officers, who called for medics to provide first aid and a transport to the hospital.
You mentioned there's an investigation to determine if policy violations occurred. So do we think that this occurred between something with the deputies or inmates? What do we know about what kind of caused that emergency?
Yeah, so anytime we have an inmate that either passes away in our facility or is listed in critical condition, we always review our policies just to do a checks and balance. So it's not anything that's out of the ordinary as it relates to reviewing our policies or conducting an administrative investigation. It's nothing outside of the ordinary for our detectives or even the TBI in some cases to investigate incidents such as these. So unfortunately, I hate to use the word routine, but these are some routine procedures that we have to follow in such incidents.
When would Ms. Granberry be in court?
So I don't have her assigned court date. She was arrested, I believe, around 8 a.m. this morning. As I said, outside of an elementary school, and she was transported to jail. Now she's going through the process of being booked, and whether or not she's assigned a court date today or Monday, I will have to follow up with you later on that.
You mentioned that pretty much she's been involved with this department since 2020. Are investigators looking into whether or not she's been involved with inmates like this before?
So that was all part of our investigation. And of course, a huge chunk of our investigation relies heavily on whether or not we have participation from whether it's Granbury or Williams or the additional inmate. So we don't know that answer yet. Again, we welcome Ms. Granberry or her attorneys, if she has one, to come share that information with our detectives.
Who's the inmate's name that's in the hospital?
We're not going to release that at this time for HIPAA protection. Any other questions?
As far as the money's concerned, you think people have been better off buying lottery tickets or something?
Actually, one more time.
I said, as far as the money's concerned, the amount is so small. You think they've been better off buying lottery tickets or something?
Well, what I would hope is whether it's our inmates in the jail or whether it's our correctional officers or friends or family of inmates, is that we will all serve as partners when it comes to providing the safest jail possible. Yesterday, I spoke about new doors for the jail. And so we're investing lots of dollars to the tune of $6 million in doors to try to provide a safer jail. And so we need participation in that. And so I'm disappointed for anyone who participates in behavior that would bring danger of any kind to our jail. So I want family members and friends to make better decisions. I want our inmates to make better decisions. And certainly I want our staff to uphold the trust that the public has bestowed upon us.
And you say Ms. Granberry had been a jail since 2020?
Ms. Granberry graduated from the academy February of 2021.
21.
You think she might have known this guy before?
There's no indications that she had a previous relationship or knew this individual before. Now, I'm not naive. Many of our staff come from the very same community that some of these inmates come from. So I wouldn't be shocked.
Can you hear me? MoneyBoy. I can't hear you. Get out here, Trey. Is he talking?
Nah, it had muted my mic for some reason.
Okay, so
until you said you couldn't hear me.
I walked out the room for like a second. So listen, I get the lady had an affair with an inmate. Who went to the hospital?
It was another inmate that died. He was just giving an update.
Oh, so that didn't have anything to do with the other situation. Okay.
I think this one over with. Yeah, he done.
if that was the case. We hire from, the community in which we all live.
Well, thank you for coming up early in the process.
Oakland County Sheriff announced arrest of 13-year-old in home invasions.
Earlier than we
13.
typically would come out and chat is because I really felt it was important to have the community kind of bring it down a notch in terms of their anxiety and fear. I mean, this is the worst nightmare for any parent, that somebody might be trying to climb in through a window to get after their kids, especially a young teenage girl. And, that's the kind of situation we had found ourselves in. There were a number of cases that had happened over a period of time, but it wasn't necessarily attributable to this activity. It was somebody who was in the house, but it was unknown what they were doing and whether it was something like this. But now that we have gotten to this point, we believe that this individual was involved in 9 such intrusions into homes in Pontiac and 2 in Detroit. So with the partnership with DPD, and I'd also like to say, first and foremost, the community, on so many cases that we've had recently, including the tragic murder of the individual in his home in Rochester Hills, the community has responded and reacted to information we put out and really given us information to bring very fast closure on cases. And so as soon as we realized what we had in terms of complexity and repetitive nature, we put it out to the community and got a quick response. And so now as we stand here, we believe very much so that the suspect we have in custody is the person responsible for those cases in Pontiac and in Detroit. We believe pretty solidly. And I'd also like to thank our deputies in our Pontiac substation, our detectives, our forensic lab that do an amazing job to then put together the cases that will proceed when we hand the baton to our prosecutor to take it into the next phase. And so very proud of the work they've done, and our substation commander, Major Ewing, and his team do on a daily basis, and our mayor from Pontiac in supportive in our role to do those kinds of things and to reach out to the community. Joining me is from Detroit Police Department is Commander Ryan Connor, Officer Justin Hearn, and Detective Melinda Cook. So they're involved in the cases and the processes as it relates to the city of Detroit. So as I said, we believe this individual is responsible for now up to 11 distinct home invasions. It seems, again, to be targeting young girls. The most recent one was where he had grabbed the female in her bedroom and had a knife. We believe he had a knife in at least 3 of these attacks. So the suspect is 13 years old. He's a tall 13 years old. And the parent, I would also say, has been cooperative. And that's really helpful and important as we move this process forward. I believe there will be a hearing probably about 2:30 today. And again, we'll be handing off, the case, if you will, to the prosecutor into the next phase. But I really felt it was super important to kind of let the community know, even before we got deep into the process, that they can take a breath, because we know we had some individuals out patrolling the streets on their own. And the anxiety of the community, both in Pontiac and in Detroit, because this is, again, the worst nightmare of any parent, to have somebody try to get into the bedroom of your child. So with those kind of limited parameters of what I can answer, any questions?
Sure. 11 cases is a lot. Why didn't we hear anything until this week?
Well, again, some of them weren't necessarily attributable. It was a person had gotten in the house and gotten out. Could have been, a burglary, could have been some kind of domestic situation. You don't necessarily know until you know, but once, there was more information that led us to then go, wait a minute, a number of these homes have a young girl in the house. Something else might be going on here. And that's when it kind of evolved. And that's when we quickly put the information out to the community.
How did you track down this 13-year-old? Did you live in the neighborhood?
Yeah, we got information from the community. That's what I'm saying. Having people being willing to either give us tips or share information, whether it's that case, as I said, with a fake utility worker, or in this case, very much made the difference. So we got information from a person that they believe this person that we had in that picture was our suspect, and in fact turned out to be so.
What do you think about the fact that this is a child?
Tragically, we've seen children do very dangerous and violent things, scary things. The moniker of a child doesn't necessarily mean they're not capable of doing something very terrible to another person, as we saw at Oxford High School.
Can you talk about, I know there was a 10-year-old girl attacked. Can you talk about the extent of her injuries and any other girls who were attacked?
In terms of physical injuries, thank God we have very little, but obviously the emotional impact when you're a child in your bedroom, the most safe and secure thing at home, there obviously has to be a process for them to deal with that trauma, that emotional trauma, that mental health trauma. So I think that's going to be the biggest ongoing thing. I remember when I was a street police officer and I'd go to a simple burglary and people would say, I feel so violated. Imagine if you take it to the next level and you're in bed and somebody grabs you and they have a knife. Regardless of where you move, that fear is going to follow you.
How did you connect this young man to the cases in Detroit? It's not, you've got these other ones close together. These are kind of outside.
Yeah, our detectives, were trying to run down different theories and they saw and heard about that case and they were like, huh. And it actually made their case a little more difficult at first because, they were thinking it was a juvenile. And if it was a juvenile, how would they?
Can you talk about the time frame in which these all occurred? 11 times, 11 break-ins. What was the time frame?
The one goes way back and there was no even knowledge of it. And that's the other point. Some of these weren't even necessarily reported. And so I think the one that goes way back was about 2 years.
2 years.
And then the most recent ones were, I think, going back to the summer.
Sheriff, is there any knowledge?
He was targeting homes that he believed there were young girls in, we believe.
The Detroit event, two Detroit events. Was one event off the top of your head, was it the January 13 one?
Yes.
Yes.
Bubble and School Drive?
Around that area.
Yeah, that area.
Is that one on the night as well?
Yes.
Can you just react to that? A knife to a 9-year-old?
It's terrifying. I mean, again, that child has to deal, and I say child, 9 years old, has to deal with the trauma of being in your safe space, your bedroom, and someone comes in with a knife. I mean, which is why I'm so appreciative of the effort of our team and Detroit's team to bring this swiftly. Once everybody kind of realized this is what's going on. It's not just a house was broken into, which is bad enough, but it's a house that's probably being targeted because there's young girls here. And once that, kind of coalesced, a lot of resources were thrown into it. The public was notified, and a swift conclusion is the outcome, which is what we were hoping for.
What's expected at hearing today?
I believe at 2:30, if it stays on track.
What kind of charges is
Well, that will be up to our partner across the street. Our prosecutor will ultimately determine charging decisions.
So that would involve whether this 13-year-old is being charged as an adult?
That's up to our prosecutor, what the person is charged as and what the charges are. But obviously, it's a very serious situation.
When you say the parent was cooperative, what do you mean?
Without getting into too much information, they were very willing to bring this young individual to our substation and allow our process to move forward. I think, the parent, like most parents, wants to figure out what's going on with their child and what's the next steps forward, especially if they're on a path that's very bad.
Did you recover the knife?
We did it. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. We're the lab and other folks are working with different things now.
What was the actual process of, was he literally opening up bedroom windows and putting it that way?
Yeah, he was climbing, well, not necessarily just a bedroom window. He was finding access to the home somewhere with an unlocked window. Seems to be one of the most used opportunities. And that's why we encouraged, when we kind of figured out that this was bigger than just, a random thing, to the community, lock your doors, be situationally aware, all of those kinds of things. Lock your windows. It's not something that we like to think about, but we have to.
Is there any understanding that this 13-year-old was going to these houses and looking at them and casing them out before he committed these crimes, or was he just going to the homes and doing it in that instant?
He did have some knowledge of the homes he was going into and who would be inside.
Yeah, so obviously our detectives in the case know a lot more with some of the specific answers. So he had been, obviously gaining information about potential victims in the homes. Pontiac.
Two of the victims' mothers said that after this, their family was so traumatized, they are for sure moving. To those families, what would you like to say?
I understand. We're appreciative that, another family doesn't have to go through this, and they should encourage their loved one to get help, to have a process to deal with that, to communicate that traumatic incident, and the whole family, quite frankly. I mean, even as a parent, if something happens to my kid under my roof, I'm going to feel very guilty. And you're the victim in this, not the guilty person. So push back the guilt if you're feeling anything, and understand you've both been victimized, the safety and sanctity of your home for you as a parent and them as a child. And, I would suggest rethink moving, because this could have happened regardless of where they live. It happened to be this neighborhood or that neighborhood. It happened to be because they had a young girl. And so if they move to another house, they still have the young girl. That's the common theme in this particular case. So focus instead on what can they do to help themselves and their child. Anybody else want to say anything?
Can you say what the first indicator was?
What the what?
What the first indicator was that you had a suspect? Was it just lining up all these incidents and how similar they were? Did it come out of Pontiac substation? Was it Detroit? How did you guys put the dots together?
Well, our substation detectives kind of came up with a pattern that made them believe it wasn't just a burglary and it wasn't random. It was focused on a young girl being in the house. So that was a determination after examining a number of these cases, putting that linkage together. And then once that linkage was together, they shared that with me. I immediately put it out on our social media and different platforms. And then we got a quick turnaround on some information. That's where I thank the community for their participation. We can't do this in a vacuum, and the help of people makes a very big difference, because usually someone knows someone. I mean, we had a case in Orion where someone was able to turn a person in that I believe it was a burglary because they recognized the shoes. So,
all right.
the public
He
is our
boring.
best ally
On to the
and try to
next
help keep
story.
them
I
safe.
got 3 more left
Mr. Mayor, you want to say
after
something?
this one.
Well, thank you.
This one's short. Then we got a fairly long one, and then an 8-minute one. Hollywood producer convicted of hospitals. Why this jam buffering to death? I don't know.
They were 2 young friends living in Los Angeles who were out for a night on the town. 24-year-old Christy Giles, a married model from Alabama studying interior design, and 26-year-old Hilda Cabrales, an architect who just moved to California from Mexico. In this video posted on Hilda's social media, the friends are at a local warehouse party, dancing and enjoying the evening. It would be the last time they were seen alive, leaving a mother grief-stricken.
I feel like we failed as parents because we couldn't protect her.
And a husband asking questions.
When she stopped becoming responsive to my messages, it raised alarm bells for me.
Jan Cilliers was in San Francisco visiting his father, but could see his wife Christy's location at the party on his phone, but it wasn't like her not to respond to his texts.
At a certain point, the next day she had moved to a hospital, and at which point I flew back to Los Angeles to figure out what was going on.
He got in touch with Christy's mother, Dusty Giles. She immediately started looking.
That my baby was dropped off by masked men, and she was DOA on arrival.
The family would learn that both Christy and Hilda were drugged after being brought to this home in Los Angeles, and their unconscious bodies were dumped by masked men at separate hospitals. Christy was already dead. Hilda was put on life support and died 11 days later. Both of the women had multiple drugs present in their system. Dusty Giles, who is also a nurse, had one message for police.
Please don't rule them as just accident overdoses or party girls that did this to themselves. Ask why it's in their system, why they were dropped off. Ask questions.
Detectives listened to the family's pleas, and their questions led them to this man. Hollywood producer David Pierce. Police say this is a grainy surveillance image of the women outside the club. Prosecutors say Hilda and Christy were photographed with him that evening and ended up at his apartment in the early hours of the morning.
He tried to, and the Uber came and went, and at that point the 2 women were unconscious.
Jan says he was able to access his wife's messages and found this text between the 2 friends. Christy saying at 5:30 a.m. the women never made their ride home.
Let's go ahead and go back on the record.
Prosecutors charge David Pierce with murder and forcible rape of Christy and Hilda. They say the friends met him at the warehouse party and they went to Pierce's apartment. They say he drugged the women with the date rape drug GHB and cocaine laced with fentanyl, which caused them to overdose. His DNA was found on both victims. The next day, Pierce and his roommate Brant Osborne were seen on security cameras carrying on the side of the road and were acting as good Samaritans. Osborne was charged as an accessory to murder after the fact.
Not just a model, a wife, wanted to be a mother. She was looking forward to her whole future. She was a granddaughter. She was a niece. She comes from a very long line of strong women.
Dusty Giles says she'll never forget her conversation with the hospital that her daughter was dead.
Believe, but
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant David Brian Pierce guilty of the first-degree murder.
How come I'm just not hearing about this shit? They tried and came and went and everything.
Christy and Hilda and sexually assaulting the two friends. In addition, he was also found guilty of raping several other women in different incidents.
Man, you think this would be like a national news story?
Child, they pick and choose what they want to put out there.
The fuck?
They pick and choose what they want to put out there. It's, you know, it is what it is.
The jury deadlocked on his roommate Brant Osborne's charges, and his case was declared a mistrial.
We managed to come together and put a monster away, and he's never going to see the light of day again. The person that he killed was very important to a lot of people. She was a joy to be around. She was always happy, a go-getter. She was interested in building a career. She made friends real easily. She was just a beautiful soul.
She also did cocaine.
Outside court, Christy's mother was overcome with emotion, wearing a pendant on her necklace that carries her daughter's ashes.
she's always with me when I need strength. I feel like I just can't take that day, the grief, that I can hold her, and I can hold her close to my chest and my heart, and I can talk to her and say, baby girl, I'm so sorry that mama wasn't there.
Hold on, I gotta skip this one back. Judge locks up Florida teen for raping 91-year-old woman.
Oh, I saw this one. He been convicted. Yeah, he's been convicted. He just got convicted.
Hold on, it dropped for me.
Do me like that all the time. Yeah, but this dude right here, I think is he like a teenager? I think he's I didn't look at his age.
He looks crazy. He looks mentally ill.
Don't they all?
All right. Let's see. Now I gotta represent
14
it.
E-books. I knew he was young. I just didn't.
Well, I think he was 13 at the time. I said I think he was 13 at the time.
91-year-old woman. Come on, bro.
What the hell kind of view is this?
You know, he does genuinely care about her. And this was, he doesn't understand why he did it.
A grandmother pleads for leniency for her teenage grandson after he admits to sexually assaulting a 91-year-old woman. I take you to the sentencing of Jesse Stone in Florida as he learns his punishment.
Mr. Stone, this is unfortunate for you, for the victim, for both of your families.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. We cover a lot of terrible, terrible cases for you here, and this one is really quite shocking and disturbing. And one of the reasons why it is so disturbing The defendant, Jesse Stone, was just 14 years old at the time, and he admitted to sexually assaulting a 91-year-old woman. Jesse Stone was a kid when he attacked this woman. He still is a kid. He turned 15 in jail in December. But that doesn't matter. What he admitted to doing to this woman who befriended him in his neighborhood in Reddick, Florida, is absolutely terrifying and makes you wonder how anyone could do such a thing, let alone a 14-year-old boy. Now, before we get into Jesse Stone's sentencing, I want to go over the case and how it got to this point. Deputies were called to the victim's home one night last June.
Okay, I'm up here in Reddick. I'm at a house, and a 91-year-old lady calls in saying she was just raped. We get on scene. She's beat up really bad.
The 91-year-old woman said she was sleeping in her bedroom when someone walked toward her.
So she saw a shadow approaching her, and all of a sudden he just started like wailing on her. She's significantly injured in her face and got a big gash on her arm. She's 91 years old. So she says that the guy sounded Hispanic and he was telling her to be still and penetrated her with his fingers. And she said that he felt like he was not erect, but maybe trying to be. She said it lasted about 15, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she says he never took off his pants.
She said he never took off his pants and it lasted about 15, 20 minutes. And he left about 5 to 10 minutes prior to us going 97.
Marion County Sheriff's deputies launched a massive search for the attacker.
There was that lady moved out of the way, right? The one that was with the phone? Yeah.
Hey, have the neighbor with the phone step out of our way.
This is a law and crime legal alert. Recent allegations against the multi-billion-dollar video game industry claim video games states taking on this compensation video game eligibility, who goes by the nickname Randy John. Detectives had run into him in the neighborhood.
Man, you doing all right? You need anything? All right, Jesse, I'm Ryan, and we're gonna come in here and talk to you just a little bit, okay? We're waiting for your mom to get over here, just so we can all be here and talk and figure out what's going on, all right? You sure you don't want water or anything? Okay, if you need some, just get the door, we'll knock, all right?
The detectives questioned Stone with his grandmother present about when he last saw the victim and whether he had ever been in certain areas of her home.
So she's never asked for your help to do those types of like household chores and like laundry or whatever. Okay.
No, I helped with the laundry machine, but not to do laundry.
Not like you've never done her laundry with or veggies or anything like that.
No.
You've never like.
They gave this little nigga a quilt.
Okay. Do you remember if you've ever been in any of those bedrooms?
No.
No.
No, I've never been in any room other than the living room, kitchen, the bathroom.
Okay. Well, Randy John, I think you probably know that I wouldn't ask that question unless I had a reason to.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna be honest with you because I feel like you've been mostly honest with me, and I know your mom's been honest with me. Is it okay if I call you his mom? Yeah. Brownie? Okay. I don't mean to. It's okay. Yeah. But when I came over to you on, I think that was Sunday, and I was asking you about your clothes and the video and stuff, and I explained that I wanted to get your DNA because I knew that you had been over there before because you mentioned, like you told us today, that you had talked with her. So I knew that at the very least there would be evidence of you being in the porch.
Yeah.
Right. So I went and met with your mom, and you guys signed a consent form, and we got your DNA. Okay. So we sent law enforcement who does testing stuff for stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any reason at all that your DNA would be on her clothes?
Yeah, we when I said goodbye to her, we hugged like a side hug.
Okay.
That's.
Let me be a little bit more specific. Your DNA was on her underwear.
What?
And so I want you to really use this time here to be honest with me about what happened that night, because I think that we know what happened, and I think that your mom knows what happened, because she also wrote down a list of times that you went in and out of the house, to include the time that the call came in. And I think you probably know that you wouldn't be in here unless we had a good reason to put you in.
I don't see. What?
It's not about see, Major John. It's truth.
Yeah, truth. It's impossible for my DNA to be on her underwear.
That's what we like to think too, brother, but that stuff doesn't lie, that stuff doesn't get made up. Sometimes the truth can be hard. You seem like a really good guy, man. You seem like you got a good head on your shoulders. You can make connections with people that need help. You go out there and help other people. And there's people out there sometimes that make mistakes.
Come over here.
And that doesn't make you a bad person for making a mistake.
Then the detectives really turned up the heat on Jesse Stone, showing him photos of the victim's injuries.
But we just need to understand, like, who is Raymond John, man? I don't. And we don't think that was the intention. But we need to understand what happened, man.
Randy, I want to be real with you. You know what happened. What I want to hear from your own words, everything. Oh my God. Holy cow. I want to know why this happened.
Randy, help us understand that.
Randy, listen to me for a second. You did this exact same thing when I asked you about you walking down the road or down the road at 11 o'clock, and you did the whole I don't remember, and I was like, bullshit. And you finally admitted to it. And I think this is the exact same thing. I know what happened. And it's only going to help you for you to be honest with me about what happened. Because like I said, we know what happened because we have the DNA at the crime scene.
Jesse Stone's grandmother is there with him, and she tells him he has to be honest.
She deserves the truth to be told, and you know it. Personally, I can't believe that this is a horrible thing with you, John. That's a horrible thing. I don't even have the ability to do that. Well, it's hard for me to believe too. It's really hard for me to believe too that you would do a thing like this. I didn't. But how many times have you been caught in lies? I know, but and this is the whole reason why you're on restriction. It's because you're not telling the truth about things. If this woman deserves to have the truth, she deserves it, and you know that. What? And don't say why's, Ready John, because why doesn't exist here. I wasn't at her house. Ready John, it's across the street. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her face. That's I don't even think that. I've never seen you hurt anybody, but I don't wonder. What the hell are you doing outside at that time of night? It doesn't make any sense. Do you understand? Ray John, it doesn't make any sense. There's a million different things you could do. Being outside where you don't belong, and you know you don't belong out there. I'm sorry, but I'm an outdoorsy person. You're not an outdoorsy person. You're a sit in front of the TV kind of guy. I don't have TV. I'm outside. Well, I don't know. I hope and pray you did not do this to us. I hope and pray. I hope and pray you did not do this. Because this is horrific. This is a human being. And she deserves justice. She does. If this would have happened to your sister, what would you do? Or whoever did. If you know anything about this, Rennie John, for her at least, if you care about her, tell the truth. Tell the truth. You know, we've been down that road before where you've been lying about something. You swear up and Rennie John, you've lied about stuff before.
Eventually, Jesse Stone confessed to sexually and physically assaulting the victim after watching pornography on her iPad in her home. Jesse Stone would tell the detectives that he started watching pornography when he was just 10 years old. Stone was charged with sexual assault and burglary and later pleaded guilty to those charges. His grandmother, who begged him to tell the detectives the truth, asked the judge for mercy.
He was struggling, yes, in the last few months, but he is a caring person. He loves people. He takes care of people. He's kind. He's not violent. He actually was attacked one time by 5 people, and one of them being a girl. And when
this nigga beat up a 91-year-old woman and said he not violent, what the fuck? You were shocked by the pictures.
she hit him in the back, he turned around and he was going to punch, but he saw it was a girl. He pulled the fist back and put it down, and he got out of that situation. But he's not violent. He's not an aggressive person, and he genuinely cares about people. And he, you know, the one thing I know talking to him in the last few months is the unbelievable amount of remorse that he feels for what he's done. I hear it in his voice. It's in the conversations. It's like he feels really bad. He's asked me over and over, how's Miss Edith? How's she doing? Is she okay? He really, even now, he worries about her. You know, he does genuinely care about her. And this was, he doesn't understand why he did it, but
he accepts responsibility.
He does accept responsibility.
When he was living at your house, was he helpful around the house?
Absolutely.
Stone's grandmother went into more detail about what she noticed about her grandson in the months leading up to the attack.
Well, for one thing that really kind of stood out for me that he was struggling was because he hadn't used to lie. I mean, didn't used to take things and didn't do different things. His behavior was excellent before. And then all of a sudden, he was sitting at the dining room table, and I said to him, I said, what is going on? Why are you behaving like this? I don't get it. And he says, why does my mother hate me so much? That's what came out. So then I realized he's in pain. That's what I realized at that point in time. That's when I started trying to get help from him, because that's the seed of what's going on. And then after that event, losing his sister really tipped him upside down. I mean, he just went, and he even told me, I said, why do you keep trying to get video screens? Why do you keep getting video screens? What's going on with this? What's going on with this? And he said, Grandma, when I'm watching the videos, I don't think about my sister. Right. It helps give me a break from thinking about my sister. I'm missing my sister. So that's what he was doing. He was kind of using the videos.
And there was a disturbing revelation about the videos and the pornography Jesse Stone told detectives he started watching when he was only 10 years old.
What type of videos are you talking?
He liked all kinds of videos. It's not just pornography. The pornography happened in the very end, well, like that. But and I'll admit, he got introduced to
the pornography. He started watching it. It depends on how old he was when this happened, but the pornography couldn't have started at the end if he's saying he started watching it at 10.
To video.
You said his behavior changed months before the attack.
The pornography actually from his father, and that happened when he was in the 4th grade. And he got in trouble for being on a website at school that was pornographic. It was something that I think what it was, my son spelled out the words to him, is what my grandson told me, and then he went to school and he typed those letters in, and that's what it was. And it wasn't, I think he told me it was kind of, the school told me it was kind of like boy on boy type of pornography, but that's like his first thing. But he was also watching videos where, you know, like dirt bikes and funny things, and that's pretty much, I mean, a lot of us do it. I do it now. I find myself scrolling through my phone just because I'm bored and I don't have anything better to do with my time. And so it's an escape.
Stone's grandmother explained that he had a difficult childhood, which led to raising him and his younger sister.
And he kind of went upside down from there. He was really struggling, so.
Is his sister older or younger?
His sister's younger. He was like the caretaker for her. He was like taking, when I first got them, I was surprised he was more like a parent to his little sister than a brother. It's very strange. He was dressing her. He was making sure she ate. He was taking care of her.
As he was growing up, before they were kind of separated like that, how much contact did he have with his sister?
Say again?
How often would he have contact with his sister?
The whole thing again. I'm hard of hearing.
How often did he have contact with his sister?
After the separation?
Before.
Oh, 100%. Thank you, sir. They live with me, so, I mean, they were together with me, and I was taking care of her. She's legally blind, and she has a lot of physical ailments that are, I guess, from the mom doing drugs or something. So, you know, but he was a very tight bond with them two, very, very tight.
Jesse Stone's grandmother and his lawyer realized that he is going to prison. There's really no way around it. The crime was too heinous for him to be placed on probation.
Once Jesse is released from whatever period of incarceration the court deems appropriate, will you be there for him?
Absolutely, if I'm alive still.
Will you help support him kind of getting back on his feet into the community?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like Judge Herndon to know about Jesse?
Just that he isn't the person that did this act in a natural way. He's not this guy. I think personally he panicked or something. I can't explain what happened, but he's the person that you love, you care, you like having him around. He was a good person. He is a good person. And I mean, I care about Miss Edith too. I really do. And I don't know what's really fair here. I was myself recently attacked, and for me personally, the way I felt better is to have the person get help, because I think people who are in that situation, they need help. And prior to him, this incident happened, I was already reaching out for help. I called the police a couple different times trying to get help for him. I called the school counselor trying to get help for him, but nobody seems to, you know, that end of things, they failed. And you know, I really believe had he gotten the help that he needed then, he would not be here right now. I mean, I really believe that.
But the prosecution described Jesse Stone as a teen who acted very deliberately.
It showed a series of deliberate and violent choices by the defendant that ended up endangering the health, the safety, and really the life of Miss in this case, and ultimately caused significant physical harm to her. Ms. considered the defendant to be a friend, that he was one of the kids in the neighborhood that she showed kindness to even the day prior to this incident, sitting and talking with the defendant. And with this friendship, the defendant gained knowledge about Ms. life, including the fact that she lived alone. He had awareness of when she was alone versus when family or friends were visiting based on vehicles in the neighborhood. He knew the layout of her home, and he was close enough. He helped teach her how to use her iPad and knew that she had that device in her home that he would be able to access. Ultimately, through the investigation, when the defendant entering her home, attacking her, and then ultimately when confronted with photos of her injuries and the DNA evidence, little by little started making admissions to law enforcement.
Remember, the victim's iPad is important in this case, and the prosecutor is going to elaborate on why. She went on to explain the iPad and Jesse Stone's frustrations with his home life.
The defendant's grandmother tried to provide structure and responsibility for the defendant in that home, and that he, at one point in his interview to law enforcement, stated he wanted to get out of the house where he was heavily watched by cameras to go to a place where he wasn't under such control. And so that was one of his choices here in leaving his home and entering the victim's home. Throughout his interview, he begins to admit to entering, going back home, coming back, going back home, back and forth multiple times. All of this happening while Ms. 91 years old is sleeping in her bed and is unaware. She did not give permission or consent for the defendant to enter her home, never mind in the middle of the night. The defendant admitted to using that device, the iPad, to watch pornography, which law enforcement later determined include pornography with elderly adults. And what is clear from the testimony presented to the court is that these circumstances, the defendant being in this home, escaping that control, watching the pornography, caused him to be sexually aroused and shows the court his sexual intent for why he entered the home and why he ended up attacking. During his description of the physical attack, it shows his recklessness and the extreme danger that he was putting her in through his choices. This is one of the clips played to the court, that he covered her face with a pillow so she couldn't see him, held it there so she couldn't pull it away. A very dangerous decision by the defendant.
The prosecution can just how
back. The defendant was described to the court through both the testimony provided by the victim, but also through the defendant's admissions, that he then had to take a number of actions to restrain her so he could regain control over the situation. This included covering her eyes and mouth with his hands so she couldn't see him, many attempts to try to hold her down. At one point in one of the clips we played for the court, the defendant states that he was looking for something to wrap her arms up with to physically restrain her, and that he repositioned her, flipping her on her stomach where he could be on top of her in order to have complete control and power over her physically in that moment. And it was during that positioning that he committed the sexual battery of the digital penetration of the victim. And what is described by the defendant's own admission shows this was not him simply panicking, but that there were a number of very intentional decisions he made that inflicted harm on her, just to sleep in her bed once he entered her bedroom while he was inside the home after watching the pornography. The defendant then describes, after the sexual battery, even additional steps that were intentionally made to prevent him from being identified or to cover up his crime that he had committed, including covering her face again with a pillow so that she couldn't see him when he left the room, and then seeing he had blood on his hands, washing that off.
The prosecution asked the judge to sentence Jesse Stone to no less than 30 years in prison, while Stone's attorney made one final plea on his behalf, arguing that Stone had no prior criminal record.
His brain was nowhere near fully developed when this incident happened and is still probably 10 years off from that being the case. He had a relatively difficult childhood. He had no father figure in his life whatsoever. And certainly none of this is an excuse or justification by any means for what happened. He is remorseful about what happened. You've heard testimony about that. He pled guilty. But he
had no father figure, but his grandmother blamed the pornography on her son.
He lost contact with his sister, I believe shortly before this happened. He very minimal contact with his mother, and he was essentially raised by his paternal grandmother. Despite all that, he's done fairly well in school. He got ahead of grade, made pretty good grades, A's and B's, I believe it was. We believe that indicates that he would be amenable to supervision as well as specialized sex offender treatment. as the state points out, he does suffer from depression and ADHD. And obviously, there are plenty of people that have depression and ADHD that never get involved in anything like this. But that combined with his childhood certainly doesn't help. As a 14-year-old boy with no father figure in his life, he appears to be somewhat get addicted to pornography and things of that nature on the internet. I'm sure that didn't help this situation.
In the end, the judge decided that Jesse Stone should go to prison.
All right, Mr. Stone, this is unfortunate for you, for the victim, for both of your families. I'm going to start with count 2. It's a burglary of a dwelling with a battery, which is punishable by up to life in prison. You're adjudicated guilty and sentenced to 25 years in the Department of Corrections. That's going to be followed by 30 years of sex offender probation. You're going to have to follow the sex offender probation conditions set forth in 948.30, which includes sex offender treatment, a variety of other things, including polygraphs, no use of the internet without a risk assessment, no contact with children under the age of 18. I don't know that that's going to be applicable in this case, but I assume all those are still going to apply. You cannot have any contact with the victim in this case, which means that no phone contact, third-party contact, no contact in any manner whatsoever.
Jesse Stone was sentenced to 25 years in prison. He'll be 39 when he's released. His grandmother watched as the bailiff helped him in the courtroom before he was led away to start that prison sentence. The prosecutor said the victim in this case has had a difficult time processing what happened to her. As anyone could understand, given the violence of the attack and how she befriended Jesse Stone. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.
All right. Good afternoon, my friends, and thanks so much for joining us for this streaming coverage on WLTX Plus of the Richland County Sheriff's Department. We are expecting Sheriff Leon Lott to hold a press conference at any moment. Here is a live look for you at the podium, which is at the Sheriff's Department headquarters on Two Notch Road. Here's what we know so far. Earlier today, they put out a note saying that they have arrested not one, but 2 Richland County Sheriff's deputies. Now, those Sheriff's deputies, obviously, because of their arrest, have also been fired from the Richland County Sheriff's Department. Now, what we don't know right now that we are expecting, of course, Sheriff Lott to come and talk about is what these 2 deputies are accused of doing, what charges they will be facing, and what evidence led them to this. Now, Sheriff Lott tends to be very punctual and really tries to stick to the time. If he tells us 1 o'clock here for the media, normally he gets out to the podium very punctual. For the last charge parents, when their teens are charged with shootings, here he is. Let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say today.
I stand here today with quite a few emotions. Sad, extremely mad, very disappointed, but also proud a little bit. Proud of the honest deputies that we have here at the Sheriff's Department, the honest investigators that we got, that when they uncover something, even though it's one of our own, they don't turn a blind eye to it. They investigate it, and we take the appropriate action, and we hold our people accountable. Just like we hold those in the community accountable that breaks the law, we're going to hold our own people accountable when they break the law. Last year was a tough year for our K-9 unit. We lost 3 that were killed. We had another one shot, and had so much community support that came out and supported us, supported the K-9 handlers, and we just saw a lot of love that came our way. But unfortunately, while all this was going on, we had 2 of our K-9 handlers who were stealing from the Sheriff's Department. They were stealing K-9 equipment, vaults that we have in the back of our cars that we lock our guns in, muzzles, a lot of different things that go with the K-9 units that they use. They were stealing it, and they were selling it. We uncovered this last week in an undercover operation where we went to the social media platform. One of them had created under a false name and was selling some of our stuff. Made contact with that deputy, made arrangements to buy the equipment, and made arrangements to buy it here in the Sheriff's Department. And he showed up in his patrol car. And at that point, we took the stuff that he had, and we started an investigation. We have 2 of our deputies that were arrested this morning. Showed their pictures right now. That's the 2. Now, that is not their Sheriff's Department pictures. That is their booking pictures, where they were booked in the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center this morning. Isaac Page and Corey Mayo, 2 of our K-9 handlers, were both charged with misconduct in office. That is the highest charge that we could charge them with. We wanted to make sure that the full weight of the criminal justice system falls on them. So they charged with misconduct, which could carry a sentence up to 10 years. While they were supposedly working, they were stealing. They were using some of our own equipment to steal the stuff they were stealing. And then when they were selling it while they were on duty, even in the patrol car. I stand here a lot of times and amazed at things that people in our community do. And I really stand here today just, again, with all those emotions I described earlier about two of our own that I trusted, that those who wear this uniform trusted, and that the community trusted. We trusted them. We trusted them to go out and do their job. We trusted them to do the right thing. But these two did not. They broke the law, and they're going to be treated just like anybody who's a common thief that goes out here and steals. That's how they're going to be treated. They were terminated last week, and they were arrested this morning about 9 o'clock. We did not arrest them immediately because we wanted to finish our investigation, which included downloading their phones, which we got lots of evidence off the phones. We recovered quite a bit of stuff from their residence, stuff that they had stolen that they had not sold yet. You really don't know what to say. I will say this, though. I apologize to the community. I apologize to all the men and women who wear the uniform. For what these two have done. They tarnished the badge, and all of us good cops, now we're going to suffer some for what they've done. Those who don't like cops will say they're all bad cops. They're not. The majority of the cops that put this uniform on are good and honest, and they go about it the right way. Unfortunately, these two didn't. These are some of the items that we recovered. You see some of them are brand new items still in the bag that they were stealing from our K-9 office, and then we're putting for sale. I went through a class in a meeting yesterday where the speaker was talking about vice sheriffs never get up and say you're sorry. I disagree. We do something wrong, then it is my job to say I'm sorry to the community. I'm sorry to those who wear this uniform. I'm sorry to all the supporters we got and that we had two bad cops. But I'm also glad that we caught them. They've been doing this, as far as we know, back to February of last year. So it's been at least a year and may have been longer, but we've got evidence that goes all the way back to a year. So I am sorry for what they've done. I'm sorry that they tarnished this badge. But again, they're going to face what they should. We're going to do all we can to make sure that their law enforcement certification, they don't have it, that they're never a cop, not just in South Carolina, but not a cop anywhere ever again. We're going to do all we can to do that. Paige has been with us for 4 years. Mayo's been with us for 2.5 years. The K-9s that they have will be reassigned. We'll keep on working. The dogs are not guilty of anything except for having a bad handler. So, questions?
Were some of the items that were sold, were they ever noticed to be gone or missing?
No. We didn't know they were gone until we started looking for them. And then once we realized what was there, then we discovered it. Yeah, some of the items. But again, if you look at the items that were stolen, they're not something that would have a serial number on it. It's just muzzles, leashes, medical kits, the boxes that go in the back of the car. So no.
So what initially spurred on this investigation?
One of our investigators came across on social media this fake name and noticed that what was being sold was items from the sheriff's department, and then made contact and set up a buy. And that buy occurred here in the sheriff's department parking lot. And that's what initiated it. Again, our people doing the right thing.
When you realized it was, in fact, your deputies, I'm sure many people had come to know them and trust them within the department. What was your initial reaction when you realized it was two of your own?
Well, I don't want to cuss on TV and the media, but I was not very happy with it. I mean, these are two that I trusted, two of them that I knew that I thought were good cops. No, they're not. They're not good cops. They're thieves. They don't deserve to wear this uniform. And that's why the pictures we put up, it's not in the sheriff's department pictures. This is the jail pictures. That's the pictures that people need to see, is them in the jail outfit when they've been arrested.
Any sense of why they were doing this? Why they were stealing and selling these?
Why does people steal? For money. Easy stuff. Steal it. You get away with it once and you just keep on doing it. And they would have kept on doing it. If we hadn't caught them, they'd have probably kept on doing it. Very disturbing to look at text messages that we got off both of them's phones and just a cavalier attitude they had about it. it really makes you mad. It makes you mad that somebody who wears this uniform and the badge that we carried, that we're doing what they were doing.
What did those text messages reveal?
That they, how involved they were, people they were selling this stuff to, talking about going stealing it, using a trailer that the K9s has to go out and steal the stuff and transport it. It just showed the whole operation what they were doing, taking orders from people on what somebody would want, then they'd go steal it.
What about the people who bought the stuff?
They didn't know it was stolen. You know, they didn't know it was stolen. So, you know, they're innocent victims.
How much did these two steal? Like dollar-wise or not?
I don't know. If we charged them with the amount that they stole would be less than 10,000. So that's only petty larceny. That's a master charge. That's why we went with misconduct. So it's I don't know, probably less than $5,000. It don't matter if it's 5 cents. The fact that they stole stuff, that made them a criminal.
Will this change anything in protocol of how you keep inventory here? Or?
It's hard. You know, we do a good job with our inventory now on stuff that has serial numbers. We track it. You know, so these are items that you normally don't track because they're items that you'll get for the, you know, the K9 has their storage room where they keep their equipment, leashes, muzzles, stuff like that, and medical kits for the dogs. You know, so yeah, we'll look at what we can do better. But you know, they were thieves.
And how do you respond to folks in the community who see this and feel like there is that tarnished trust in the sheriff's department because of the actions of these two?
Has 900 people work at the sheriff's department. That's two. So the rest of them, you know, look at the good stuff. And this is something we talked about earlier, is that look at all the good stuff we do every single day, and then I stand up here and have to do this. And that's what people see right now. And that overshadows all the good stuff that we do every single day. There's a lot more good stuff that we do than it is the bad stuff. And that's why I started this off talking about what had happened to our canines this past year and how the community came out and support them. You know, support the dogs, support the handlers. You know, we got great handlers. We got great people who work here. So I don't think that destroys the trust that the community should have in us. I think the community should, you know, understand that they're human. They made a mistake and they're being held accountable for it. That's, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do the job. We're going to do the right thing. And the people here did the right thing. When the investigator came across it, she didn't ignore it. When our investigator started working it, they didn't ignore anything. They put the full weight on them, both.
Are you going to be reviewing any other cases that these deputies were involved in for any other possible misconduct?
They're thieves. I think that's the only thing that they're involved in is being thieves. Their arrests and activities they do are monitored pretty close because they have the body cams and the cameras in the car. So when you make a case and stuff like that, they're already reviewed. So I don't think they were doing anything like that. They were just thieves. They were just stealing stuff and selling it.
Do you think there are others involved, or is it just isolated to these two?
It's isolated to these two because we've checked. We've done some very close checking to make sure that we didn't have anybody else that was doing this, and it's isolated to these two.
What's the relationship between the two of them? Were they partners, friends?
They work the same shift. There's 3 of them that are on a shift. The third one on the shift had no clue what was going on. I will tell you, he is very upset because here he is out here working, and the other 2 that are supposed to be supporting him and working with him are out here stealing. He's mad. He's very mad. So there were 3 people on a shift. These were 2 of them.
Sheriff, how does the department handle when something like this happens with cases that they may have been involved with?
Well, that's up to the prosecutors. Again, we reviewed their cases are reviewed anyway. It doesn't take something like this for us to go back and check the cases they made. They're already reviewed. So we haven't seen anything abnormal with the cases they made. It's just they were stealing. They were thieves. And I can't stop repeating that. They were just thieves. And that's what they're going to be treated like. All right. Thank y'all.
All right. Sheriff Leon Lott walking away from the podium. Clearly, he's very upset today, talking about as our photographer zooms in on those 2.
All right, y'all. That's all I got. It's tonight. I'm gonna come back and do Jeannie Martin had a body cam release where she went to the Jeezy residence cutting up like Asian women do. You know,
I
just
saw
had to point out
that. I saw
how
that.
women are unruly everywhere. We're gonna point out how women is just unruly. Don't matter what
Wait
they
a minute.
is.
Hold on. No, we're not. No, we're not.
When they hurt, they just hurt.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, we are. When they hurt, they
No,
is
we're
hurt,
not.
damn it.
Trey, I'm not gonna let you paint that woman out. Now, see, I don't even like
She was
fuck
hurt.
with anybody. Listen though. I don't even fuck with her. Like, I never really like care for her like that. You know what I'm saying? But this gonna be good. I can't wait for this.
All right, y'all. Until the next episode, we out. See y'all at Truth in about 40 minutes. Never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Now he bleeding, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. All my niggas wildin', they done labeled us some misfits. Wake up every morning, 2 or 3, 5 in the Fitbit. Oh shit, didn't nobody come to see you old, it's some focus. Shoot 100 shots, no reloaded. Master of the game, you would think I'm into coded. Memphis niggas spit this pippin', mackin' like I'm golden. Ho, with my money, you gon' turn me to the old me. Stay high, first class flight, I'm in the nosebleed. Hop it, cook it, whip it, ship it, till you count the proceeds. OG, I've been moving pack niggas since 03. Low key, niggas hating, but they don't want no beat. State gang, true sippers, bitch, I bet we gon' eat. Get jammed, get a lawyer, make it bunny, don't speak. Pour up, oh, I need some more. A nigga had a long week. Shout out to my plug, he showed me love, he out in Long Beach. I'm too geek. Walking by myself, but left with 2 freaks. Ooh, we nothing in they mouth and on they booty. Austin Power swag, yeah, baby, this is groovy. You can call me money boy, or you can call me nudie. Hood niggas, churches, chicken, let me get a 2-piece. Top down, 2-seater, let me feel the 2 breathe. Gotta hold it steady, chopper, kick it back like Bruce Lee. Lately I've been in the zone, I guess I'm in my 2-3. Don't call my phone for nothing less than a QP. Feeling like the Migos, cause my bitch is bad and bougie. All my haters love me, all these bitches is some groupies. Came a long way, I like to introduce the new me. Standing on business like I'm king or like I'm Drewski. Call me Ron Island cause I like my love for choosy. When we link it's a movie, she bustin' like a Uzi. I love the way she do me, I beat it up like Uzi. She dancing just like Suki. Call me Ron Island cause I love my love for choosy. When we link it's a movie, she bustin' like a Uzi. I love the way she do me, I beat it up like Uzi. She dancing just like Suki. I never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Name pleading, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. Never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Name pleading, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit.